Chapter 9:16. Qing Luo's guardian, dead. The leader's heart sank when he saw the dozen or so people behind him being killed in an instant. His face was pale and he couldn't hide the shock in his heart at all. He did not even see how the dozen or so people behind him had died. How could he not be shocked? After all, he was an ultimate seven-will emperor realm ancient martial art practitioner. Even he did not see how Zhuo Wen had killed his subordinates behind him. "It's your turn now." A cold voice rang out. A blood spear pierced out as if it was illusory and swept towards the man's back. Clang! The man broke out in a cold sweat. However, he was quite experienced in battle. He reached out with his right hand and a green spear appeared in it. He threw it behind him. The sound of metal clashing rang out and sparks flew. Then, the man felt a huge force coming from the spear in his hands. He groaned and retreated. Thud! 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 After retreating a dozen steps, the man stared at the youth holding the blood spear in front of him. His heart was like waves in the water. An uproar broke out among the crowd in the martial arts practice field. There were even quite a few younger generation members whose faces were flushed red with excitement. Zhuo Wen was also young, but the strength he had displayed was so terrifying. How could they not want to be like Zhuo Wen, who could make others tremble in fear with a wave of his hand? How is this Zhuo Wen so strong? Wan Xianfeng and Leng Feng finally revealed shocked expressions. They were already shocked that Zhuo Wen had defeated Xiaoyan Pu with a single move. However, the dozen or so subordinates of the Xiaoyan family had attacked. The weakest among them was an ultimate four-wheel emperor. However, such a lineup had been killed in the blink of an eye. Only one person was left. Moreover, this remaining person was an ultimate seven-wheel emperor expert. However, he was in a sorry state when facing Zhuo Wen. He was panicking and helpless. It was obvious that Zhuo Wen's hidden strength was above that of an ultimate seven-wheel emperor. Leng Ying was even more stunned. Her beautiful eyes stared at the dozen or so subordinates of the Xiaoyan family who had died. Her eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. What's going on? When did this trash Zhuo Wen become so strong? Even ultimate seven-wheel emperor realm ancient martial art practitioners are no match for him. Leng Ying muttered softly. She was still in disbelief. The reason why Lord Zhuo was so weak back then was because he was severely injured. Now that his injuries have healed, his strength has naturally recovered as well. Wan Lingyu shook her head and explained when she saw the look of disbelief on Leng Ying's face. So what if he was strong? At most, he's at the pinnacle of the seven-wheel emperor realm. He's no match for Xiaoyan Qinglin of the Xiaoyan aristocratic family. Moreover, he killed a member of the Xiaoyan aristocratic family, so he'll definitely be hunted down by the Xiaoyan aristocratic family. He'll definitely die. Leng Ying snorted coldly. Perhaps it was because Leng Ying realized that the trash from back then had become so strong that she felt a tinge of jealousy in her heart. Coupled with the fact that Zhuo Wen had slapped her a few times just now, Leng Ying hated Zhuo Wen to the bone. She couldn't wait for him to die. Looking at Leng Ying's expression, Wan Lingyu could more or less guess what she was thinking. However, she didn't say anything. She only shook her head and stared worriedly at Zhuo Wen, who was holding the blood spear. Although the strength Zhuo Wen had displayed was terrifying, and he could even fight against an ultimate seven-wheel emperor realm expert, the Xiaoyan aristocratic family wasn't so simple. Today, Zhuo Wen had killed a member of the Xiaoyan aristocratic family, so the Xiaoyan aristocratic family definitely wouldn't let him off. Die! Zhuo Wen stomped his foot, and his entire body turned into a blood shadow as he rushed toward the Xiaoyan aristocratic family cultivator. With a swing of his blood spear, a boundless sea of blood swept out from the void and ruthlessly crushed toward the Xiaoyan aristocratic family cultivator. Damn it! Break for me! The Xiaoyan aristocratic family cultivator's eyes were gloomy. He flicked the long spear in his hand upward, and waves of green energy swept out from the long spear like a long river. They poured out in torrents and swept toward the sea of blood in the sky. Bang! The green river collided with the sea of blood, causing a terrifying explosion. The green and blood-colored water droplets mixed together, and a strange rain of green and blood-colored water droplets fell from the sky, pitter-patter. Die! A heavenly might-like voice was transmitted from deep within the sea of blood. Immediately, a partially visible figure suddenly rushed over and arrived in front of the long green river in an instant. After which, a blood spear slowly rushed over as though it had penetrated through space. Finally, it stopped in front of the long green river. Rumble! A deafening sound rang out. Soon after, the green river completely collapsed at that moment, shattering into countless streaks of green light. Swish! The sea of blood swept out, forming a revolving, blood-red vortex. Zhuowen stood at the center of the vortex. His eyes were cold as he immediately shot toward the Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator. Piss off! Seeing the terrifying blood-red vortex, a sliver of fear finally appeared in the eyes of the Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator. However, he also knew that if he fled, he would definitely be killed by Zhuowen. Only by taking the initiative to meet the attack would he have a chance of survival. The Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator fiercely stabbed the green spear into the ground. His hands formed a seal, and green light surged out from his body like a monstrous wave. With him as the center, an endless sea of green light spread out. Green net protection. With a low roar, the Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator slammed his hands on the ground. The surrounding green sea actually started to violently revolve around the green spear, forming a terrifying defense. It's useless. Your defense won't be able to stop me. Zhuowen's voice rumbled like thunder. The blood-red vortex arrived in an instant, pressing against the edge of the green sea of whirlpool. Subsequently, Zhuowen spat out yuan power from his right palm. Golden light flickered, and a hole was blasted open at the edge of the green sea. Then, Zhuowen drilled into it like a hot knife through butter. Swoosh! Zhuowen was extremely fast, and arrived at the center of the green sea in an instant. The Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator had clearly not expected that Zhuowen would be able to pass through the green sea so easily and arrive at the center of the green sea. By the time the Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator had reacted, a blood shadow had pierced through his chest at lightning speed. Soon after, he realized that his chest had been pierced by a blood spear at some unknown time. On the other side of the blood spear's handle, a young man with a sinister gaze was indifferently looking down at him. You, who exactly are you? The Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood as he stared at Zhuowen and asked the question in his heart. The Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator was an ultimate 7-will emperor expert, but the young man before him had killed him like a dog. How could he not know that the latter was much stronger than him? Moreover, this person was so young, and was definitely not a nobody in Yen City. This was because the geniuses of the younger generation who had the strength to kill an ultimate 7-will emperor expert were basically all ranked on the Flame God list. However, the young man before him did not lose out to any of the geniuses on the Flame God list. I am not from Yen City. Zhuowen indifferently replied. As expected. However, you have offended our Shaoyan aristocratic family. You will not be able to escape from the clutches of the Shaoyan aristocratic family in Yen City. Your fate will also be death, haha. The Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator knew that he was going to die, so he simply laughed out loud. Then you can rest in peace. Zhuowen indifferently said. He exerted force with his right hand and the blood spear suddenly began to spin. Waves of terrifying blood energy spread out and the Shaoyan aristocratic family cultivator was instantly blown into a bloody mist. What exactly happened inside? Who won and who lost? At this moment, everyone in the martial arts practice ground stared unblinkingly at the blood sea vortex and the green ocean. When the two energy spheres had collided, they had been in a deadlock. No one had been able to see what had happened inside. This is the ultimate Seven-Will Emperor's desperate move. Even if Zhuowen does not die, he will be seriously injured. Yuan Xuanfeng's eyes flashed. He could naturally see that the ultimate Seven-Will Emperor had used all of his strength to execute this terrifying move. Zhuowen's performance was indeed monstrous. However, the Green Ocean was the ultimate move of that warrior. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, it was impossible for him not to be affected. Ling Feng and Ling Ying nodded. They were also looking forward to seeing how miserable Zhuowen would be. If they had the chance, they would not let go of any opportunity to let Zhuowen leave this place alive. At this moment, Xiao Yanpu, who was not far away, had already arrived beside Ruan Xianfeng and Ling Feng with the help of the Ruan aristocratic family disciples. His face was extremely gloomy. He could clearly feel that all the bones in his right hand had been shattered. Zhuowen had not shown any mercy and had not given him any leeway. He knew that his right arm was really going to be crippled from now on. Zhuowen, you damn bastard. You better die. Otherwise, I will let you have a taste of what it feels like to live a life worse than death. Xiao Yanpu muttered coldly. Boom. At this moment, the Green Ocean and the Blood Sea whirlpool finally collapsed completely and turned into countless light spots that filled the entire space. The result is about to be out. Many pairs of eyes gathered together. All of them knew that the Blood Sea swirl and the Green Ocean had collapsed. It was likely that the battle within had also ended. However, it was still unknown who had emerged victorious. Dang dang dang. A clear sound of footsteps was heard. A tall and straight figure slowly walked out from the green and blood light spots. His right hand was holding a blood spear that was about 10 feet long. The blood spear was propped up on the ground. As he walked, the friction between the spear and the ground created sparks. The ear-piercing sound stimulated everyone's eardrums. It's Zhuowen. That Zhuowen has won. Moreover, he seems to be unharmed. Looking at the figure that was slowly walking out, the crowd burst into an uproar. Xiao Yanpu stared at the figure that was walking out. He gritted his teeth and the hatred in his eyes was extremely deep. If looks could kill, Xiao Yanpu's gaze would have killed Zhuowen several times over. Unharmed? This Zhuowen is actually unharmed after the desperate attack of a seven-wheel ultimate emperor? Ruan Xianfeng, Ling Feng, and Ling Ying were all stunned. This was because not only was Zhuowen unharmed, but his body was also clean and tidy. However, the seven-wheel ultimate emperor had completely disappeared. Chapter 9:17. Xiao Yanpu's death. Zhuowen raised his head slightly as he walked out from the countless specks of light. His gaze swept past the crowd in the martial arts practice field and landed on Xiao Yanpu, who was standing beside Ling Feng. A substantial killing intent burst forth and descended upon Xiao Yanpu. Xiao Yanpu felt a chill in his heart when he felt the chilling killing intent. He involuntarily took a step back and stared at Zhuowen. He said coldly, Zhuowen. You're getting bolder and bolder. You actually dared to kill someone from the Xiaoyan family. Now, you better know what's good for you and take the initiative to apologize to the Xiaoyan family. Perhaps the Xiaoyan family will spare your worthless life. Dang dang dang. Zhuowen's gaze was cold and emotionless. He walked step by step toward Xiao Yanpu without saying a word. Xiao Yanpu felt a chill in his heart when he saw Zhuowen's actions. He took a step back and hid behind Ling Feng. He stared at Zhuowen with fear. Zhuowen. You're too bold. Killing someone from the Xiaoyan family is already an unforgivable crime. Now, you want to commit a heinous crime against the Xiaoyan family? Ling Feng consciously stood in front of Xiao Yanpu and stared coldly at Zhuowen, who was slowly walking toward him. However, Zhuowen still did not say a word. He was expressionless as he slowly walked forward. His killing intent surged like a monstrous wave. Ling Feng, who was standing in front of Xiaoyan Pu, stiffened and revealed a furious expression. I think you're courting death. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Feng snorted. He took a step forward and dashed toward Zhuowen. He wanted to kill Zhuowen. Zhuowen glanced indifferently at Lin Feng, who was rushing towards him. With a stomp of his foot, his entire body transformed into an illusory blood shadow and instantly disappeared from the spot. Boom! Lin Feng's attack had already reached the ground where Zhuowen was standing. The violent attack poured out and caused the ground to crack, forming a huge crater. This little bastard is really slippery. Lin Feng's eyes darkened. He seemed to have realized something. He quickly turned to Xiaoyan Pu and shouted, not good. Indeed, a blood shadow had already appeared in front of Xiaoyan Pu. Zhuowen's right palm spat out elemental energy, mercilessly striking Xiaoyan Pu's body. Xiaoyan Pu's face was full of panic. After his right hand was crippled by Zhuowen, he feared Zhuowen like a tiger. He didn't dare to face Zhuowen directly. At this moment, seeing Zhuowen's attack descending, Xiaoyan Pu could only helplessly block it with his left hand. He spat out his origin energy in an attempt to block Zhuowen's attack. Kacha! Another crisp bone-cracking sound rang out clearly in Xiaoyan Pu's ears. Immediately, extreme pain spread throughout his body. Ah! Xiaoyan Pu spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. He landed heavily on the ground. His hands were twisted in an irregular manner, and he couldn't move them at all. It was obvious that Xiaoyan Pu's hands were completely crippled. Miserable shrieks unceasingly resounded across the training grounds, causing the hearts of the other people in the training grounds to turn cold. When their gazes gathered on Zhuowen's body, they were all filled with fear. The young man in front of them was too ruthless. Xiaoyan Pu was the second son of the Xiaoyan family. Now, this person completely disregarded the power of the Xiaoyan family and crippled Xiaoyan Pu's arms. This was even more painful than killing Xiaoyan Pu. Whoosh! Zhuowen arrived in front of Xiaoyan Pu in an instant. His right foot stomped heavily on Xiaoyan Pu's chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood and almost pass out. Previously, you said that if I kneel down, bark 3 times, and cripple my own cultivation, you would spare my life. Now, do you still have the right to say that? Zhuowen stepped on Xiaoyan Pu's body and looked down at him. The coldness in his eyes was extremely dense, like the ice in the deep sea. Don't kill me. I'm the second son of the Xiaoyan family. If you kill me, the Xiaoyan family will definitely chase you to the ends of the earth. You'd better not kill me. Xiaoyan Pu panicked and spoke without thinking. Boom! Zhuowen stomped his foot again. Xiaoyan Pu spat out a mouthful of blood and his chest caved in irregularly. You still want to use the Xiaoyan family to threaten me? Now that your life is in my hands, do you think you have the right to threaten me? Zhuowen said indifferently. Xiaoyan Pu's aura became extremely weak. He stared at Zhuowen and said in a low voice, then, what do you want in order to let me go? Enough. Zhuowen, don't go too far. This is my Ruan family's territory. Don't you think that you're looking down on me, the patriarch of the Ruan family, by being so arrogant here? Ruan Xianfeng finally opened his mouth and stared at Zhuowen. A trace of coldness filled the air and the aura in his body surged out. Oh. Ruan family head's meaning is that all this is because of me? Then I'd like to ask Patriarch Ruan, who was the one who was so aggressive in the beginning, blocking my path and not letting me leave. Why didn't Patriarch Ruan stop them at that time? And after the people of the Xiaoyan family tried to kill me, why didn't Patriarch Ruan stop them at that time? Now that the people of the Xiaoyan family were killed by me and Xiaoyan Pu was trampled under my feet, you suddenly opened your mouth and asked me not to go too far. Don't you think your way of doing things is ridiculous? Slightly raising his head, Zhuowen calmly stared at Ruan Xianfeng with a cold smile. This Ruan Xianfeng was really a snob. In order to climb up the branch of the Xiaoyan family, not only did he sacrifice his own daughter, he even inverted the truth. The more Zhuowen looked at this kind of face, the more disgusted he felt. Ruan Xuanfeng's face stiffened and his gaze was gloomy. Just as he was about to speak, Leng Ying suddenly interrupted, "Who do you think you are? Can you be compared to the Xiaoyan young master? You'd better let go of the Xiaoyan young master now. Otherwise, you'll die without a doubt." Noisy. Zhuowen glanced at Leng Ying indifferently and released origin energy from his right palm. Instantly, a suction force surged out. Leng Ying was caught off guard and was pulled forward by the suction force. Without any resistance, she was caught in Zhuowen's palm. Slap. With a slap, a 5-fingered handprint appeared on Leng Ying's swollen cheek. Even a bloody tooth flew out. Zhuowen didn't hold back at all in this slap. "Zhuowen, you bastard, you dare to hit me again." Leng Ying was almost mad with anger. At the beginning, Zhuowen had slapped her twice in the hall. At that time, there weren't many people in the hall, so Leng Ying didn't feel too humiliated. She only felt very angry. But now, all the disciples of the Ruan clan were gathered in the martial arts arena. In front of everyone's eyes, she was held in the hands of Zhuowen like a little chick. She was even slapped by Zhuowen in front of countless people. "I said, you're too noisy," Zhuowen said indifferently. With a backhand slap, a loud slap sounded again. Both sides of Leng Ying's face swelled up, revealing a bright red handprint. Leng Ying was completely silent. She covered both sides of her face and didn't dare to say another word. Zhuowen was completely unrestrained. "Zhuowen! You bastard, let go of Leng Ying!" shouted a loud voice. Leng Feng was like a great rock spreading its wings as he flew towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen frowned, he threw Leng Ying towards Leng Feng with his right hand. Leng Feng's eyes narrowed. He stomped his foot in the air and stopped his forward momentum. Then, he raised his right hand and caught Leng Ying who was flying towards him. "Zhuowen! Don't go overboard. As long as you let go of Prince Xiaoyan now, we'll immediately let you leave the Ruan clan." Ruan Xianfeng slowly walked towards Zhuowen, a terrifying aura gushing out. Ruan Xianfeng. "I, Zhuowen, have never seen such a shameless person in my life. Do you really think I don't know what you're thinking? You just don't want to offend the Xiaoyan clan. Moreover, you think that I, Zhuowen, am weak. Am I right?" Zhuowen's indifferent words caused Ruan Xianfeng to stop in his tracks. His eyes narrowed as he said, "What are you trying to say?" "What I want to say is that I'm not afraid of the Xiaoyan clan. You better not provoke me, Zhuowen. Otherwise, your end will be even more miserable than Xiaoyan Pu's." At this point, Zhuowen pinched the blood spear in his right hand. Like a blood-red lightning, it streaked across Xiaoyan Pu's neck. "Woo-woo!" Xiaoyan Pu clutched his neck. His mouth was filled with blood as he let out a vague whimper. His eyes were fixed on Zhuowen. Even until his death, he did not expect that Zhuowen would actually kill him. He died unwillingly. For a moment, the entire martial arts practice field fell into a strange silence. Everyone's eyes were focused on Xiaoyan Pu, whose neck had been pierced by the sword. Xiaoyan Pu whimpered for a while before he completely lost his breath. His eyes were wide open as he died with grievances. Dead. Xiaoyan Pu actually died in front of them just like that. "You actually dared to kill Xiaoyan Pu?" Ruan Xianfeng coldly snorted as he stared at Zhuowen. A terrifying murderous aura burst out, and Ruan Xuanfeng's heart had already sunk to the bottom. Xiaoyan Pu came to the Ruan clan today to propose marriage. It should have been a happy occasion, but now it had become a funeral. Ruan Xianfeng knew that the Ruan clan could not escape from the responsibility of Xiaoyan Pu's death. If the Xiaoyan clan were to blame them, the Ruan clan would really be finished. Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he said indifferently, "Why is the Ruan clan head so agitated? What I want to ask is, is Xiao Yanpu a disciple of the Ruan clan? No. Ruan Xuanfeng's expression was ugly as he replied. If not, then why is the Ruan clan head so agitated? Now that Xiao Yanpu is dead, this matter is over. I won't stay here any longer. With a faint smile, Zhuowen took a step forward. Under everyone's gaze, he was about to leave the Ruan clan. However, Zhuowen had only taken a few steps when he was blocked by a figure. Raising his head slightly, the person blocking Zhuowen was Leng Feng. At this moment, Leng Feng was looking down at Zhuowen and coldly said, "You want to leave after killing someone? Do you think that the Ruan clan is a place where you can come and go as you please? Then what do you want?" Zhuowen raised his eyebrows and sneered. Chapter 9:18. Shed all pretense of cordiality. If you can agree to this condition, we can let you leave the Ruan family. Ruan Xianfeng slowly walked until he was 10 meters behind Zhuowen. He spoke casually as if what he said was insignificant. Zhuowen's gaze turned cold. Ruan Xianfeng was really arrogant. He actually proposed such a condition. He actually wanted Zhuowen to bind his own arms and go to the Xiaoyan aristocratic family personally to show that killing Xiao Yanpu had nothing to do with the Ruan family. What does my killing of Xiao Yanpu have to do with the Ruan family? And what right do you have to make me bind my own arms and go to the Xiaoyan aristocratic family? You, who do you think you are? Zhuowen slowly turned his head and said in a cold voice. Since Ruan Xianfeng had shed all pretense of cordiality with him, Zhuowen had nothing to fear. Previously, he didn't want to deal with the Ruan family because Ruan Lingyu was the daughter of the Ruan family. Therefore, Zhuowen didn't kill anyone from the Ruan family. Even for Leng Ying, Zhuowen had only given her 2 slaps. But now, Ruan Xianfeng had shed all pretense of cordiality and planned to deal with Zhuowen. He even planned to take Zhuowen's life. So, why should Zhuowen have any scruples? As he spoke, Zhuowen turned his head and looked at Ruan Lingyu, who was imprisoned by Ruan Xianfeng. He smiled faintly and said, "Miss Lingyu. Thank you for saving my life back then. I've already repaid your kindness just now, so I've already cut off all ties with the Ruan family. And now, your father and Leng Feng from the Ruan family are being aggressive. So, I can only offend you." Ruan Lingyu could only stand there motionlessly. When she heard Zhuowen's words, her beautiful eyes were filled with regret. She didn't expect that Zhuowen would fall out with the Ruan family in the end. However, Ruan Lingyu also knew that Ruan Xianfeng and Leng Feng had indeed gone overboard. It was normal for Zhuowen to fall out with them. What did you just say about me? Leng Feng's eyes narrowed as veins popped out on his forehead. This damned brat actually dared to call him an old dog in front of everyone. How hateful. You kept barking in my ear. Am I wrong to call you an old dog? Zhuowen retorted. Good, good. Looks like you don't know how to write the word death. Let me teach you. Leng Feng roared angrily. The powerful aura of an 8-wheel emperor surged out. His right palm was covered in flames. He clenched his right hand, and the flames shot upward. They turned into a blazing sun that floated quietly above his head. Sun manipulation techniques. Red sun, blazing sun. As he spoke, Leng Feng stomped his foot. Terrifying flames gushed out from the blazing sun above his head, forming a powerful fire python. Sizzle. The fire python flicked its tongue and roared angrily. It pounced toward Zhuowen. In an instant, the surrounding temperature soared to a terrifying level. The murderous intent in Zhuowen's eyes seemed to materialize. Since Leng Feng really wanted to die, Zhuowen would no longer hold back. Sizzle. At the thought of this, Zhuowen stabbed the blood spear into the ground. He stood quietly on the spot and stared at the fire python that was pouncing toward him. What's wrong with Zhuowen? Why did he put down his weapon? Could it be that he knows that he's no match for Elder Leng, so he decided to give up? Zhuo Wen's strange behavior caused many people in the surroundings to reveal puzzled expressions. Could it be that Zhuo Wen had really given up on resisting? Looks like this little bastard has given up because he doesn't have any hope of defeating my father. However, it's a pity that letting this little bastard die like this is letting him off too easily. Leng Ying covered her face. Naturally, she also noticed the scene not far away. Her eyes revealed a pleased expression. Zhuowen had humiliated her, so she naturally hated Zhuowen to the core. She wanted nothing more than for Zhuowen to die a horrible death. However, when the fire python was a few meters away from Zhuowen, an invisible force swept out from between Zhuowen's brows. It seemed to form an invisible barrier in front of him. Boom! In front of this invisible barrier, the fire python's body stiffened. It was knocked dizzy and continuously shook its triangular head. This is mental energy. Wan Xuanfeng's eyes narrowed slightly. He immediately recognized the source of the invisible force in front of Zhuowen. Mental energy. This little bastard is actually an arcana master. Wan Xuanfeng's voice was not soft. Everyone in the martial arts practice field could hear him. Ling Feng frowned slightly. His gaze became even colder as he said in a low voice, "So what if you have mental energy? You're only around 20 years old. You're already considered a genius if your mental energy can reach grade 3. It's impossible for you to be that strong. Die." As he spoke, Ling Feng waved his right hand. The blazing sun that was suspended above his head was thrown out. The huge blazing sun was like a real scorching sun that fell from the sky. The terrifying heat spread out, turning the entire martial arts practice field into a furnace. Many warriors could not stand the heat and retreated, distancing themselves from the center of the blazing sun. What a terrifying attack! The sun manipulation art's red sun blazing sun is Elder Ling's strongest attack. Zhuowen is dead meat. Many of the Ruan family disciples in the martial arts practice field had lingering fear in their eyes. Leng Feng's sun manipulation art was well known in the Ruan family. It was extremely powerful. Do you really think that my mental energy is that weak? The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up. The mental energy in his Naiwen palace gushed out and formed a mental energy storm around him. Being in the middle of the mental energy storm, Zhuowen's long hair and robe fluttered. He looked like a god that had descended to the mortal world. What? Mental energy storm? This is a secret spirit skill that only grade 5 arcana masters can use. How did this kid learn it? Wan Xuanfeng's eyes widened as he could not help but exclaim. How could it be? The young man in front of him was only around 20 years old. Could it be that his mental energy had already reached grade 5? Was this a joke? Boom! The huge blazing sun arrived in an instant and heavily slammed into the spiritual storm. Muffled thunderous explosions resounded throughout the entire space. Countless explosions sounded like countless thunderbolts falling from the 9 heavens, continuously ringing out. Break for me. Zhuowen slowly floated above the mental energy storm. With a swing of his right hand, the mental energy storm turned into rays of cold light and blasted towards the blazing sun. It was like a meat grinder that devoured the huge blazing sun. Following which, the crowd was shocked to see that the huge blazing sun was actually smashed into pieces and turned into countless specks of light. It broke just like that. Before the crowd could react, the blazing sun had been destroyed. Since when did Leng Feng's yang manipulation art become so weak? After the initial shock, the crowd regained their senses. They knew that it was not that Leng Feng's yang manipulation art was weak, but that the mental energy storm that surrounded Zhuowen was too terrifying. Puchi! The moment the blazing sun was broken, Leng Feng suffered a backlash. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. However, his heart was already filled with shock. His strongest move was actually broken just like that. It didn't even last for a quarter of an hour. Whoosh! The moment Ling Feng was sent flying, Zhuo Wen stepped on the mouth of the storm and shot towards Ling Feng at an extreme speed. Zhuo Wen! How dare you! Yuan Xianfeng also noticed Zhuo Wen's actions. He roared in anger and surged his Yuan energy towards Zhuo Wen. He knew that with the grudge between Zhuo Wen and Ling Feng would probably die if Zhuo Wen really attacked him. Ling Feng was the second strongest expert in the Ruan family and an ultimate emperor realm expert. He was the mainstay of the Ruan family. If Ling Feng died, the Ruan family would suffer a great loss. You want to stop me? I'm afraid you can't do it. Zhuo Wen coldly snorted. With a thought, the countless mental energy storm behind him blocked in front of Yuan Xianfeng, causing the latter's body to freeze as if he had fallen into a swamp. In an instant, Zhuo Wen had shaken off Yuan Xianfeng. Whoosh! In an instant, Zhuo Wen was above Ling Feng. He swung the blood spear in his right hand and slammed it heavily on Ling Feng's chest. Ling Feng felt the blood in his body boil as he spat out a mouthful of blood and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. When he reached the crater, Zhuo Wen's blood spear flashed coldly. With a poochie sound, two arms flew into the air, bringing with them bright red pillars of blood. Ah! Zhuo Wen, how dare you break my arms, you son of a bitch! Within the deep pit, Ling Feng let out a miserable howl and began to curse Zhuo Wen without restraint. However, before he could finish, a foot stomped on his face, causing his face to sink into the ground. All he could do was let out a whimper. Ling Feng. Ever since I, Zhuo Wen, entered your Ruan clan, you've been acting all high and mighty. Furthermore, you even impolitely used your consciousness to examine my entire body. You think that you're my senior, that you're stronger than me, that you're high and mighty, so you think that I, Zhuo Wen, can be humiliated as you please. However, I want to ask you a question now. You're being stepped on by me and your arms have been broken by me. Your arrogance before is a joke. You're nothing in front of me. Zhuo Wen said coldly. With a kick, Ling Feng was lifted into the air. Then, Zhuo Wen kicked Ling Feng's chest with his right foot. Poochie! Ling Feng spat out a mouthful of blood and flew into the air. Then, Zhuo Wen threw the blood spear in his right hand. The blood spear streaked across the air and accurately pierced through the left side of Ling Feng's heart. Under the piercing force of the blood spear, Ling Feng's entire body was lifted up and shot backwards. Finally, he was nailed to a red wooden pillar. At this moment, Ling Feng stared at Zhuo Wen with his eyes wide open. His eyes were filled with regret. He had never expected that the young man in front of him would be so terrifying and that he would be killed so easily. All these were things that Ling Feng had not expected. Right now, Ling Feng could only die with a heart full of regret. The entire martial arts practice field was eerily silent. No one said a word. Their eyes were fixed on Ling Feng's body that was nailed to the pillar. Their expressions froze. Father! A mournful shriek broke the silence of the martial arts arena. Ling Ying dashed towards Ling Feng, who was hanging on the pillar. She wailed mournfully, her voice filled with sorrow. Chapter 9:19. Mystic Soul Ice Butterfly. In the southeast of Yen City, there was an extremely large mansion. Streams of people flowed through the mansion, and it was heavily guarded. Guards in black armor patrolled the crisscrossing paths in the mansion. In front of this behemoth-like mansion, there was a huge stone tablet that was several tens of meters tall. It was like a small mountain, and on the stone tablet, there were 4 large golden words, Shaoyan Clan. This enormous mansion belonged to one of the 4 great families of Yen City, the Shaoyan clan. At this moment, in a rather large secret chamber within the Shaoyan clan mansion, the 2 guards guarding the secret chamber had shocked expressions on their faces. Inside the secret chamber, there were many jade tokens. On the front of these jade tokens, there was a row of names. These names were the life tokens of important figures in the Shaoyan family. If this life token was broken, it meant that the corresponding member of the jade token had died. At this moment, a jade pendant in the middle actually showed signs of shattering. In the end, it shattered into pieces. The name on the jade pendant was Xiaoyan Pu, the second son of the Xiaoyan clan. The second son's pendant shattered? Has the second son died? The two guards looked at each other and saw a trace of panic in each other's eyes. As the second son of the Xiaoyan clan, Xiaoyan Pu's status was rather high. Moreover, the ancestor of the Xiaoyan clan was rather fond of him. Now that Xiaoyan Pu's life pendant had shattered, it meant that Xiaoyan Pu was really dead. Something big has happened. We have to report this to the patriarch. When they thought of this, the two guards hurried out of the secret room and walked towards the central hall of the Xiaoyan clan. The patriarch of the Xiaoyan clan basically lived in the central hall. Moreover, if something important happened in the Xiaoyan clan, they would report it to the central hall. At this moment, two figures stood side by side in the huge central hall. One of the two figures was middle-aged. His sideburns were slightly white, but his eyes were exceptionally sharp and often flickered with light. The other figure was about 23 years old. His face was angular and was quite similar to the middle-aged man beside him. If the people of the Xiaoyan family were to come in, they would definitely be able to recognize these two people. The middle-aged man was the head of the Xiaoyan family, Xiaoyan Zhua, and the young man was Xiaoyan Zhua's eldest son, Xiaoyan Qinglin. He was a genius on the Yan city's flame god list and was also Xiaoyan Pu's elder brother. Father. Wouldn't it be too early for second brother to go to the Ruan manor to propose marriage? Ruan Lingyu is only a few months away from turning 18, and the 10,000-year black soul ice parasite larva in her body hasn't fully matured yet, Xiaoyan Qinglin said calmly. Xiaoyan Zhua shook his head and chuckled, Qinglin. This is something you don't know, but this 10,000-year-old profound soul ice goo was something I found with great difficulty in the Northern Sea. I know its habits very well, and the phoenix feather has a strong catalytic effect on this goo's larvae. It has been a month since gave the phoenix feather to Ruan Lingyu. I'm afraid that the 10,000-year black soul ice goo larva in Ruan Lingyu's body is about to break out of its cocoon and mature into a profound soul ice butterfly. Such a meta beast is extremely precious and rare, and it must not be leaked. Otherwise, not only will the 3 great clans cast covetous glances at it, even the 5 great super factions of Yan City may interfere. Therefore, we must bring Ruan Lingyu into the mansion in advance. Xiaoyan Qinglin nodded. His eyes flashed as he asked, Father. Is the profound soul ice butterfly really that powerful? Does it have the strength of the Xuanzuan realm from birth? Of course, the profound soul ice butterfly has inherited a trace of the bloodline of a powerful ancient sacred beast. It is said that it has the potential to become a Fey Emperor. As long as we can find a powerful cold chi, the profound soul ice butterfly can use the cold chi to transform into a Fey Emperor. It is extremely terrifying. At this point, Xiaoyan Zhua's eyes shone with a terrifying light. In their Yan city, only the Flame Emperor was at the Emperor realm. It was because of this that the imperial family was the undisputed number 1 force in Yan city. If their Xiaoyan clan could nurture a Fey Emperor, they would surpass the other 4 super forces and be on the same level as the imperial family. It can transform into a Fey Emperor. This profound soul ice butterfly is so terrifying. Xiaoyan Qinglin was shocked. What kind of existence was a Fey Emperor? It was the emperor of all Fey Emperors. It was an existence even more terrifying than a human great emperor. After all, meta beasts were born much more powerful than humans. If they could become an emperor, their strength would definitely surpass great emperors of the same level. However, compared to humans, it was much more difficult for meta beasts to cultivate into a great emperor. Once a Fey Emperor appeared, it would definitely be a terrifying existence that could crush many human great emperors. Moreover, the profound soul ice butterfly was born in the Xuanzuan realm. The strength it can unleash is even more terrifying than ordinary Xuanzun realm experts. I'm afraid that even I won't be able to defeat a newborn profound soul ice butterfly easily, Xiaoyan Zhuo said faintly. What? Father, you are a peak expert in the Xuanzun realm. The profound soul ice butterfly was born in the early Xuanzun realm. You can't even defeat it? Xiaoyan Qinglin asked in surprise. Xiaoyan Zhuo shook his head and continued, don't underestimate the profound soul ice butterfly. After all, it has the bloodline of an ancient sacred beast. Even in the early Xuanzun realm, its strength is extremely terrifying. Therefore, this profound soul ice butterfly must be obtained by us. Then I am looking forward to that profound soul ice butterfly. Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes flickered with anticipation. Thump. 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 The sound of hurried footsteps came from outside the central hall. Xiaoyan Zhuo and Xiaoyan Qinglin, who were talking in the hall, frowned slightly. Their faces were slightly unsightly. At this moment, outside the hall, two guards in black armor hurriedly walked in. The two guards were at a loss, and their faces were full of panic. What's the matter? Xiaoyan Zhuo said unhappily. Greetings, Master and eldest young master. Something bad has happened. Second young master's life tablet has been broken. The two guards hurriedly knelt on the ground and said with trembling bodies. Xiaoyan Zhuo and Xiaoyan Qinglin's faces stiffened, and then their eyes widened. Xiaoyan Qinglin stared at the kneeling guards and shouted, What did you say? My second brother's life tablet has been broken? It's absolutely true. The two of us are the guards of the secret pavilion. We saw second young master's life tablet break in front of us with our own eyes. I'm afraid second young master has met with misfortune. The two guards didn't dare to look at Xiaoyan Zhuo and Xiaoyan Qinglin and said with trembling voices. Shut up. I'll go take a look at the secret pavilion first. If you're lying, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Xiaoyan Qinglin glanced at the two guards indifferently, then took a step forward and turned into a blur as he left the hall. Xiaoyan Zhuo's eyes were gloomy as he followed Xiaoyan Qinglin, leaving the two guards kneeling there, not daring to get up. After a while, Xiaoyan Qinglin and Xiaoyan Zhuo returned to the hall. Their eyes were scarlet red, and monstrous flames of anger were emitted from their bodies. Who is it? Who dares to kill my Xiaoyan family's people? Xiaoyan Zhuo roared in a low voice. Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes were gloomy as he said to Xiaoyan Zhuo, Father. Today, second young master went to the Ruan family to propose marriage, but now he's dead. I'm afraid this matter is related to the Ruan family. I'll go take a look at the Ruan family first. Whether or not the Ruan family did it, today I'll destroy the Ruan family, and not leave a single one alive. Qinglin, you go to the Ruan family first. Later, I'll bring the elders of the family to the Ruan family. I'll make the Ruan family pay the price in blood. Xiaoyan Zhuo snorted coldly and walked into the depths of the hall. Clearly, he was preparing to gather the experts of the family and head to the Ruan family. Xiaoyan Qinglin nodded and took a step forward, leaving the hall and heading towards the Ruan family. The Ruan family was really rebellious. They dared to kill someone from the Xiaoyan family, and the one who died was Xiaoyan Qinglin's own brother. Ah! Zhuowen, you dare to kill Leng Feng? You bastard, did you come to my Ruan manor to cause trouble today? Looking at Leng Feng nailed to the pillar, Wan Xianfeng almost went crazy. He roared at the sky, and a terrifying energy surged out, causing the spiritual storm around him to collapse. Boom! Wan Xianfeng landed on the ground. Terrifying qi energy floated up to form a funnel-shaped cyclone. His eyes were bloodshot. This Zhuowen had guts. He actually dared to kill an elder of the Ruan family, Leng Feng. Zhuowen glanced indifferently at Wan Xianfeng, who was walking over, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He said, You said that I came to cause trouble in the Ruan family? You really have the face to say that? Who was the one who was aggressive in the beginning? Who allowed Xiao Yanpu to kill me? Or is it that if Xiao Yanpu wanted to kill me, I should just stand there and let him kill me? Master Wan, are you sure there's nothing wrong with your head? Wan Xuanfeng's eyes were gloomy. This Zhuowen in front of him was getting more and more presumptuous. He actually dared to question him, and even said it in front of the Wan family's disciples. It seems that you're determined to die. Then don't blame me. You killed Xiao Yanpu, so I can only kill you and take your corpse to the Xiao Yan family to ask for forgiveness. Wan Xianfeng snorted coldly. He took a step forward and rushed toward Zhuowen. The terrifying aura of the ultimate emperor realm gushed out, and his palms were covered with blazing flames. Then, Wan Xianfeng raised his hands, and two huge blazing suns appeared above his head. Sun manipulation technique, two blazing suns. Two blazing suns gradually appeared. Wan Xianfeng then tossed the two blazing suns toward Zhuowen, intending to completely annihilate the latter. The one who's courting death is not me, but you. Come out, infinite sword formation. An indifferent voice sounded. Zhuowen flicked his finger, and a sword ray flew out, forming a huge sword formation in front of him. This sword formation was made up of nearly 1,000 sword-shaped spirit treasures, and the aura it emitted was extremely terrifying. Wan Xuanfeng's body stiffened. He stared at the sword formation around Zhuowen and exclaimed, "Fifth rank origin formation. Weeping blood style." Chapter 920. Shaoyan Qinglin Rumble. Countless rays of blood-red light were like the sharpest swords in the world. When the two huge suns were enveloped by the blood-red light, the golden sunlight was covered by the blood-red light. The entire space was filled with blood-red light as if they were in a world of blood. Break! Zhuowen's cold voice gradually rang out. Then, the two blazing suns with shocking might couldn't hold on for long at all. They actually collapsed inch by inch, turning into countless specks of light that dissipated in this space. Greater infinite sword formation, yin-yang form. Zhuowen's cold voice rang out again after the two blazing suns were destroyed. He formed a sword seal with his right hand, and the greater infinite sword formation in the sky split into yin and yang. A taiji yin-yang pattern floated above the sword formation and rotated at high speed. When the yin-yang sword formation appeared, it turned into a black and white ray of light that swept towards Wan Xianfeng below. The yin-yang will was formed, giving off a mysterious aura. Wan Xuanfeng's face changed drastically, and his gaze was extremely gloomy. A grade 5 mental energy was already terrifying enough. With a grade 5 yuan array, Wan Xianfeng knew that Zhuowen was not afraid of a 9 wills ultimate emperor. Phoenix Sun Dawn. With a low growl, Wan Xianfeng poured out all the primary energy in his body. Waves of blazing fire breath emanated from the surface of his body. The surging fire breath gushed out and converged into a fire phoenix of 100 feet behind him. A clear and melodious phoenix cry rang out as the fire phoenix soared into the sky. It fearlessly welcomed the yin-yang sword formation that was sweeping down. Rumble. When the two forces collided, an endless sea of fire appeared in the sky. The sea of fire enveloped the yin-yang sword formation, as if it wanted to destroy it completely. Unfortunately, the yin-yang sword formation was extremely powerful, and the yin-yang pattern on its body was even more powerful. The yin-yang force that it emitted as it rotated at high speed blocked the terrifying sea of fire. Looking at the terrifying sea of fire in the sky and the yin-yang pattern that was rotating at high speed, everyone in the martial arts practice field quietened down. Their eyes were filled with shock. Their Wan family patriarch, Wan Xianfeng, had personally taken action, but he was still unable to take down the mysterious youth who had appeared in the Wan family. Everyone could not help but speculate about the background of this person. After all, the strength that this person had displayed was not weaker than those monstrous geniuses on the Yen City Flame God list. Father. Don't make any more mistakes. Young Master Zhuo has 5th-level spiritual force, and his own strength is even more terrifying. His background is definitely no weaker than the Shaoyan family. If you continue to deal with him, the gains will not make up for the losses. Ruan Lingyu said somewhat anxiously. Anyone with a discerning eye could see the various methods Zhuoan had used, as well as his terrifying strength. Who would believe that such a genius was a rogue cultivator? He definitely had the support of a colossus behind him. If Ruan Lingyu could think of it, so could Ruan Xianfeng. In fact, when he saw Zhuowen's level 5 mental strength, he already felt that something was wrong. However, Leng Feng's death was too much of a shock to him, which was why he had acted impulsively. As soon as he acted, he immediately regretted it. This Zhuowen was actually so strong, which greatly exceeded his expectations. I've already offended him. Even if I let him go now, the power behind him will definitely not let me off easily. In addition, Xiaoyan Pu died in my Ruan family, so the Xiaoyan family will not let the Ruan family go. The only way now is to capture this boy and hand him over to the Xiaoyan family. Maybe we can fight for a chance of survival. Ruan Xuanfeng's eyes flickered as he thought of 1,000 things. Soon, he decided that if the Ruan family wanted to survive, the safest way was to capture Zhuowen and hand him over to the Xiaoyan family. Lingyu. You don't have to plead for this boy. This boy must die today. Only by capturing this boy and handing him over to the Xiaoyan family can our Ruan family continue to survive. Moreover, even if this boy has a power behind him, how can it be compared to the Xiaoyan family? Ruan Xianfeng said to Ruan Lingyu. He formed a seal with both hands, and the fire phoenix in the void expanded a little. The surrounding sea of fire became even more scorching and terrifying, suppressing the yin-yang sword formation. Little bastard, go to hell. As long as you die, our Ruan family can continue to survive. Ruan Xuanfeng's eyes were cold as he muttered to himself. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. His right sword finger pointed between his eyebrows, and an even more terrifying mental strength gushed out. Then, the yin-yang sword formation that was suppressed turned into streaks of cold light again. Then, above the void, they intertwined and formed a huge and terrifying dome. Kill me. Ruan Xianfeng, you don't have the right. With that, Zhuowen pressed down with his right hand, and his indifferent voice sounded, Greater Infinite Sword Formation, Heaven's Bane. Destroy it. Countless sword lights emitted a terrifying cold light. The dome formed by the countless sword lights crushed downward. A terrifying heavenly might flowed out, as if the entire sky was about to collapse. Boom! Soon after, everyone was shocked to find that the fire phoenix in the endless sea of fire was actually crouching on the ground under the pressure of this terrifying dome. The terrifying sea of fire around it was directly annihilated into nothingness. Ah! A mournful phoenix cry sounded. The fire phoenix's ending was not much better than the surrounding sea of fire. Under the crushing force of the dome, it was annihilated into countless pieces. Pfft! Ruan Xianfeng did not even have time to react before he was affected by the heavenly power. He spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. In the end, he stomped his foot on the ground, causing countless cracks to appear on the ground. He barely managed to stop himself. How is this possible? I've lost? At this moment, Ruan Xuanfeng's hands were trembling violently. The web between his thumb and forefinger was bleeding as he screamed. You only have yourself to blame. A figure arrived in an instant, and then a palm landed heavily on Ruan Xuanfeng's chest. The latter spat out another mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Then, the tip of a blood spear stopped quietly as he roared. The sharp cold light made Ruan Xuanfeng's hair stand on end. Zhuowen! What are you trying to do? You should know that my daughter, Lingyu, saved your life. Are you trying to be ungrateful and kill me? Ruan Xianfeng was finally frightened. He stared at the blood spear and said nervously. Wow! The crowd around the martial arts practice field was in an uproar. No one expected that their Wan family's patriarch, Wan Xianfeng, would be defeated by a young man in his 20s. Such a fact shocked everyone's eyes, and they could not help but be stunned. Wan Xianfeng, you're really afraid of death. Didn't I say it before? I've already expelled the cold from Miss Lingyu's body. Then, I have nothing to do with your Wan family. Now, you're using this matter to say that I'm ungrateful. Do you really have the right to say that? Zhuowen's gaze was cold and ruthless. Wan Xuanfeng's style and behavior were getting more and more disgusting to him. He tightened his right hand, and the tip of the blood spear was almost on Wan Xuanfeng's neck, causing traces of blood to appear on the skin of his neck. Wan Xianfeng was so frightened that he did not dare to speak anymore. Young Master Zhua, can you spare my father's life? Although his previous actions were too extreme, he was doing it for the good of the Wan family. Wan Lingyu's voice suddenly sounded, causing Zhuo Wen's right hand to stiffen. Turning his head slightly, Zhuo Wen saw that Wan Lingyu's face was currently covered in tears. Her exquisite face appeared somewhat haggard. Zhuo Wen's eyes flickered. He sighed lightly and said, "Since Miss Lingyu is pleading for mercy, I'll spare your worthless life. However, you've been targeting me in every way before. It's not right if you don't pay a price." As he spoke, Zhuowen waved his right hand. The blood spear turned into a bloody light and slashed across Wan Xuanfeng's right arm. Then, a shrill scream was heard. Wan Xianfeng held his broken right arm with a hideous expression. After cutting off Wan Xuanfeng's arm, Zhuowen came to Wan Lingyu's side. He exerted force from his right palm and instantly released the shackles on Wan Lingyu's body. He said, "Miss Lingyu, now that there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." As he spoke, Zhuowen left the Wan family with the white-brow heavenly master. Wan Lingyu looked at the departing figure and suddenly felt a sense of loss in her heart. However, she also knew that the Wan family had gone too far. It was already good enough that Zhuowen didn't kill her father, Wan Xianfeng. Therefore, she didn't ask too much of Zhuowen. At this moment, Wan Xianfeng had already stopped the wound on his right arm. He stood up with a gloomy expression. He didn't expect that he would end up like this. "Father, are you all right?" Wan Lingyu came to Wan Xuanfeng's side and asked softly. "I'm fine, Lingyu. It seems that I was wrong. If I had listened to you before, perhaps things wouldn't be like this now. This Zhuowen isn't simple. I wonder where he came from." Wan Xianfeng was slightly dispirited at this moment. His face seemed to have aged a little. He was now regretting that he had to deal with Zhuowen. If only he had let Zhuowen leave, the Wan family wouldn't have suffered any losses. Medicine for regret couldn't be bought. Even if Wan Xianfeng was extremely regretful, it was useless. After all, things had already happened and there was no turning back. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure cut across the sky and arrived in the sky above the Wan family. This person was wearing a green robe. His long hair was draped over his shoulders. His face was angular and his eyes revealed a sharp light. In particular, this person's aura was very vast. It was much more powerful than Wan Xuanfeng's. Wan Xianfeng, Wan Lingyu, and the others also noticed the sudden arrival of this uninvited guest. Therefore, they all looked up at this person. Xiaoyan Qinglin. After seeing this person's face, Wan Xuanfeng's pupils shrank. He couldn't help but exclaim out loud. His face turned ugly. He didn't expect the people from the Xiaoyan family to arrive so quickly. Moreover, it was the number one expert of the younger generation, Xiaoyan Qinglin. Whoosh! Xiaoyan Qinglin slowly descended on the martial arts practice field. Immediately, his gaze gathered on the dozen or so corpses not far from the martial arts practice field. His gaze became extremely gloomy because these dozen or so figures were all warriors from the Xiaoyan family. Looking around, Xiaoyan Qinglin quickly found Xiaoyan Pu's corpse in another place. He stomped his foot and teleported in front of Xiao Yanpu. His right hand reached out to the latter's neck, then he slowly withdrew his right hand. Chapter 921. The Ruan family's sorrow. Who dares to kill a member of my Xiaoyan family? Who killed my second brother, Xiao Yanpu? A terrifying energy gushed out from Xiaoyan Qinglin's body and the ground of the martial arts practice field cracked open. Countless cracks spread out in all directions and covered the entire martial arts practice field. The Ruan family disciples who were standing in the martial arts practice field all retreated to the edge of the martial arts practice field. What terrifying strength! The Ruan family disciples who had retreated to the edge of the martial arts practice field were all shocked. This Xiaoyan Qinglin was too terrifying. Just his aura alone had such terrifying power. It was too terrifying. Ruan Xianfeng and Ruan Lingyu retreated to the edge of the martial arts practice field. His eyes were extremely gloomy and his heart sank to the bottom. This Xiaoyan Qinglin came at such a coincidence. He actually came after Zhuowen left. The Ruan family would not be able to clear their name even if they jumped into the Yellow River. A cold gaze focused on Ruan Xianfeng, causing the latter to shiver uncontrollably. Ruan Xianfeng raised his head slightly and instantly met Xiaoyan Qinglin's crimson eyes. He was a little flustered. Boom! Xiaoyan Qinglin stomped his feet on the ground and a terrifying power spread out, causing the ground to crack open. Then, he instantly appeared in front of Ruan Xianfeng and coldly said, "Ruan family head, what exactly is going on?" "Young Master Qinglin. This has nothing to do with our Ruan family. Your second brother and the others were not killed by our Ruan family. They were killed by a young man named Zhuowen. Even if our Ruan family has the guts, we don't have the strength." Ruan Xianfeng said earnestly. Xiaoyan Qinglin narrowed his eyes and stared at Ruan Xuanfeng's severed right arm. He lightly said, "Your right arm was also severed by Zhuowen?" "Yes. That Zhuowen is very strong. Our Ruan family's elder Ling Feng was also killed by him. Even I was no match for him and lost an arm." Ruan Xianfeng hurriedly explained with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He knew that if he revealed everything about Zhuowen, perhaps Xiaoyan Qinglin would not blame the Ruan family. That Zhuowen is younger than me, but he was able to chop off your arm?" Xiaoyan Qinglin narrowed his eyes and felt a little surprised. Since Zhuowen was able to cut off Ruan Xuanfeng's arm, his strength should be comparable to the geniuses on the Flame God list. However, he had never heard of this person. Ruan Xuanfeng's cultivation had reached the early stage of the ultimate Nine Wills Emperor realm. Although he was not as good as Xiaoyan Qinglin, being able to cut off an arm was not something an ordinary genius could do. "What's Zhuowen's background?" Xiaoyan Qinglin asked. This matter concerned the life and death of the Ruan clan, so Ruan Xianfeng naturally didn't dare to not answer in detail. Thus, he recounted how Ruan Lingyu saved Zhuowen until Zhuowen arrived at Yen City to expel the cold qi from Ruan Lingyu's body. The more Xiaoyan Qinglin listened, the colder his eyes became. He said coldly, "According to what you said, Zhuowen is not from Yen City and his origins are unknown. However, this person was saved by someone from your Ruan clan, and my second brother and the others were killed by Zhuowen. Are you still saying that this matter has nothing to do with your Ruan clan?" Ruan Xuanfeng's eyes froze when he heard this. He secretly cursed himself for being stupid. It was Zhuowen who killed Xiaoyan Pu and the others, but Zhuowen was saved by someone from the Ruan clan. Speaking of which, the deaths of Xiaoyan Pu and the others were related to the Ruan clan. According to what you said, Zhuowen and Miss Ruan have a good relationship, so Miss Ruan must know where Zhuowen is, right? As he spoke, Xiaoyan Qinglin took a step forward and rushed toward Ruan Lingyu. A terrifying energy surged out and formed countless cyclones around his body. "Young Master Qinglin, this matter has nothing to do with my daughter." Ruan Xuanfeng's eyes narrowed. He took a step forward and blocked in front of Ruan Lingyu. His left palm emitted a terrifying energy, wanting to completely block Xiaoyan Qinglin. Get out of my way. Xiaoyan Qinglin's aura was like a rainbow. He roared and also struck out with his palm, which collided with Ruan Xuanfeng's left palm. Instantly, a terrifying hurricane swept out between the two. Ruan Xianfeng directly spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward, crashing into the ground dozens of meters away. Master! As soon as Ruan Xianfeng fell to the ground, the disciples of the Ruan clan gathered around Ruan Xianfeng and glared at Xiaoyan Qinglin. At this moment, Xiaoyan Qinglin had already arrived in front of Ruan Lingyu. He clenched his right hand and formed a sword with his left hand, pointing at Ruan Lingyu's lower abdomen. A green energy entered Ruan Lingyu's dantian. After a while, Xiaoyan Qinglin's face turned slightly ugly. He whispered, it was really expelled. The 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was also taken out by that guy. This bastard, Xiaoyan Qinglin knew that the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was about to break out of its cocoon and transform into a butterfly in Ruan Lingyu's body. Now, because of Zhuowen, not only did he not get the butterfly, but he also lost the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva. Not to mention the butterfly, the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was also an extremely precious treasure. It was something that his father, Xiaoyan Zhua, had found by chance in the depths of the North Sea. Now, it had been taken away by Zhuowen. How could Xiaoyan Qinglin not be angry? Ruan Lingyu had no cultivation, so naturally, she could not escape from Xiaoyan Qinglin's control. However, she had heard everything that Xiaoyan Qinglin had said just now. That 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was really planted in my body by your Xiaoyan clan? Ruan Lingyu said somewhat angrily. Xiaoyan Qinglin snorted coldly and asked Ruan Lingyu indifferently, tell me, where is Zhuowen? Not only did this guy kill a disciple of my Xiaoyan clan, but he also took out the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva from your body without permission. This guy deserves to die. Xiaoyan Qinglin's words undoubtedly admitted that the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was indeed planted by his Xiaoyan clan. Now that the 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva had been taken away, Xiaoyan Qinglin had no need to hide it. Ruan Xianfeng and the others also heard Xiaoyan Qinglin's words and were all shocked. They now understood that Zhuowen's words were all true. The 10,000-year dark soul ice parasite larva was indeed planted by the Xiaoyan clan. Moreover, Xiaoyan Pu came to propose marriage with ill intentions. Thinking of this, the corner of Ruan Xuanfeng's mouth twitched. He did not expect that the Xiaoyan clan had ill intentions towards Ruan Lingyu from the beginning. As her father, he actually wanted to push Ruan Lingyu into the fire pit. What was even more laughable was that he even suspected that Zhuowen, who sincerely helped Ruan Lingyu, had ill intentions. Moreover, Ruan Xianfeng helped the wicked Xiaoyan Pu to deal with Zhuowen and drove away a person who sincerely wanted to help the Ruan clan. Now that Ruan Xianfeng thought about it, he felt how stupid he was at that time. Since Zhuowen was so powerful, then the white-brow heavenly master, who followed Zhuowen like a bodyguard, was probably not too bad either. If they had treated Zhuowen well back then, perhaps Zhuowen might have helped the Ruan clan on account of Ruan Lingyu saving his life. However, it was useless to regret now. Ruan Xianfeng knew that all the mistakes had been made and could no longer be undone. Tell me where Zhuowen is. Xiaoyan Qinglin raised Ruan Lingyu with his right hand and said indifferently. On the other hand, Ruan Lingyu's face was extremely red from being raised by Xiaoyan Qinglin and she almost fainted. However, she stared at Xiaoyan Qinglin without saying a word. Ruan Xianfeng and the other Ruan clan disciples all stared angrily at Xiaoyan Qinglin. Ruan Lingyu was extremely popular in the Ruan clan and was even the goddess in the hearts of many Ruan clan disciples. However, their goddess was being treated so crudely by Xiaoyan Qinglin. How could they not be angry? You bunch of trash, dare to look at me like that? You're courting death. Xiaoyan Qinglin waved his other hand and spat out origin energy. The Ruan clan disciple standing at the front instantly exploded into a cloud of blood mist under the force of the palm. Miss Ruan. My patience is extremely limited. From now on, I will kill a Ruan clan disciple every 10 breaths until you tell me where Zhuowen is. As he spoke, Xiaoyan Qinglin put Ruan Lingyu down and his cold gaze focused on the Ruan clan disciples at the side of the martial arts field. Ruan Lingyu's pretty face was gloomy. She didn't even know where Zhuowen was. Even if she knew, with Ruan Lingyu's character, it was unlikely that she would betray Zhuowen and tell him where he was. 10 breaths have passed. Miss Ruan, are you still not going to tell me? Xiaoyan Qinglin glanced at Ruan Lingyu indifferently and saw that her pretty face was pale and her teeth were tightly clenched. She didn't say a single word. He snorted coldly and stomped his foot, arriving beside a Ruan clan disciple. His right hand formed into a claw and he spat out origin energy. The Ruan clan disciple didn't even have time to make a sound and exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Xiaoyan Qinglin, don't go too far. Ruan Lingyu was so angry that her delicate body trembled. This Xiaoyan Qinglin was too overbearing and cruel. If she didn't tell him where Zhuowen was, he actually planned to kill all the Ruan clan disciples one by one. Still not speaking. Fine, next one. Xiaoyan Qinglin stomped his foot and arrived at another Ruan clan disciple. The Ruan clan disciple wanted to resist, but unfortunately, he was no match for Xiaoyan Qinglin. He was killed by Xiaoyan Qinglin with a single palm strike and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Another person died at the hands of Xiaoyan Qinglin. Xiaoyan Qinglin was expressionless as if he had just killed an ant and didn't care about it at all. The Ruan clan disciples clenched their fists and the veins on their foreheads popped out. They were angry but didn't dare to say anything. Although they saw their companions being killed by Xiaoyan Qinglin, they were more afraid in their hearts. Xiaoyan Qinglin was the monstrous genius of the Xiaoyan clan. Even the Ruan clan leader was defeated by him in one move. How could they be a match for him? A series of screams resounded. At this moment, the Ruan clan seemed to have turned into Azura hell. The screams soared into the sky and attracted the attention of many warriors outside the Ruan clan. Swoosh! Swoosh! One figure after another entered the Ruan clan's roof and focused on the martial arts arena. Then, there was the sound of people inhaling cold air. At this moment, the Ruan clan's martial arts arena had turned into a bloodbath. There were corpses lying on the ground with blood flowing out. Some sharp-eyed warriors even noticed that there were people from the Xiaoyan clan among the corpses. Moreover, the second son of the Xiaoyan clan, Xiaoyan Pu, was among them. Chapter 922. Purple Lightning Blade, ah! Ah! Screams of agony could be heard. Immediately, the warriors who had gathered around the Ruan clan were shocked to see a young man ruthlessly slaughtering the Ruan clan disciples in the training field. Moreover, every time this person walked past someone, he would turn his head to look at Ruan Lingyu, as if he was questioning her. Isn't that Xiaoyan Qinglin from the Xiaoyan aristocratic family? Xiaoyan Pu died in the Ruan family's martial arts practice field. He must be here for revenge. Seeing Xiaoyan Qinglin's ruthless methods, the surrounding warriors all felt a chill in their hearts. They really didn't know what was wrong with the Ruan family. They actually dared to provoke the Xiaoyan family. Wasn't this just courting death? They were courting death. However, as Xiaoyan Qinglin's questioning grew louder, the warriors also heard the name Zhuowen. From Xiaoyan Qinglin's questioning, it seemed that the young man named Zhuowen was the initiator. At this moment, the martial arts practice field was littered with corpses. 1/3 of the Ruan family disciples had been killed by Xiaoyan Qinglin. Fresh blood dyed the cold ground red. Xiaoyan Qinglin. That's enough. Do you want to kill all the Ruan family disciples? Ruan Xuanfeng's eyes were red as he shouted angrily. The Ruan family disciples in the martial arts practice field were the future hope of the Ruan family. Now, 1/3 of them had been killed in front of their eyes. How could Ruan Xianfeng tolerate this? Did I say you could speak? A small family like yours is just an ant to the Shaoyan aristocratic family. The Shaoyan aristocratic family can destroy your Ruan family with a flick of a finger. Now, you dare to bark in front of me? You're courting death. Shaoyan Qinglin snorted coldly. He stomped his foot and instantly appeared in front of Ruan Xianfeng. He waved his right fist and origin energy gushed out, condensing an endless amount of astral wind and blasting it towards Ruan Xianfeng. Ruan Xuanfeng's expression changed slightly. He ignored the injuries in his body and raised both his hands. A blazing aura of fire spread out and 2 huge blazing suns rose above his head. Boom! The 2 blazing suns rose to the highest point and turned into a sunset. Their target was Shaoyan Qinglin. Humph! Petty tricks. Shaoyan Qinglin's eyes were filled with disdain as he watched the 2 blazing suns fly over. Then, he flipped his right hand and strands of violet lightning surged out from his palm. They transformed into a violet blade that was over 3 meters long. Purple lightning blade, break for me! Shouted Shaoyan Qinglin. He threw out his saber, which was covered with purple lightning. Endless purple lightning filled the sky. It was as if a terrifying Xian thunder had descended from the 9 heavens, covering the entire sky. Kacha! When the purple lightning broadsword landed on the 2 blazing suns, the entire space fell silent. After a long period of silence, a crisp cracking sound was heard. Ruan Xianfeng was shocked to find that his 2 blazing suns had completely collapsed under the attack of the purple lightning broadsword. Puchi! Ruan Xianfeng spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated repeatedly. At the same time, Shaoyan Qinglin had already arrived before Ruan Xianfeng. His right fist blasted out and smashed into Ruan Xuanfeng's chest. Under the tremendous force, Ruan Xianfeng was sent flying and collided with a wooden pillar. Bang! The wooden pillar that required 2 people to wrap their arms around was broken. Ruan Xianfeng struggled to get up from the ruins of the wooden pillar. He spat out another mouthful of blood. His whole body was trembling and he could not stand steadily. He knelt on one knee and stared at Shaoyan Qinglin in horror. Half a step into the Xuanzun realm? You've broken through. Ruan Xianfeng asked in a low voice. Shaoyan Qinglin showed a hint of disdain. He raised his chin and said condescendingly, yes, I tried to break through to the Xuanzun realm a month ago. Although I failed, my cultivation has reached the half a step into the Xuanzun realm. Your Ruan family is too weak. I alone can slaughter your entire Ruan family. Shaoyan Qinglin looked at Ruan Lingyu and said indifferently, Miss Ruan. Are you still not going to tell me? I've already killed 1/3 of your Ruan family disciples. Or do you think I haven't killed enough and need to kill more people before you're willing to tell me the truth? Ruan Lingyu's delicate body trembled. She bit her lower lip and said hoarsely, Shaoyan Qinglin, that's enough. To tell you the truth, I don't know where young Master Zhui is. We were separated from him in the dense forest. Even if you kill everyone in my Ruan family, I won't know. Shaoyan Qinglin looked at Ruan Lingyu. She did not look like she was lying. He nodded and said, it seems that Miss Ruan is not lying. In that case, your Ruan family has no value. Just destroy it. Shaoyan Qinglin's body emitted a powerful and terrifying energy. He turned into a shadow and rushed toward the rest of the Ruan family disciples in the martial arts practice field. Miserable cries continuously resounded in the martial practice field. Shaoyan Qinglin did not hold back at all. With a single palm strike, several people died. Blood splattered, and the pungent smell of blood permeated the surroundings of the martial practice field. So cruel. Seeing Shaoyan Qinglin's methods, the cultivators who were watching from afar felt a chill in their hearts. Xiaoyan Qinglin's methods were cruel and merciless. This person could not be easily offended. Once offended, there would be devastating revenge, just like the Ruan family. After a while, the screams in the martial arts practice field finally stopped. The Ruan family disciples had been completely killed by Xiaoyan Qinglin. Blood dyed the martial arts practice field red, and the pungent smell of blood was extremely pungent. Ruan Xianfeng knelt on the ground. His face was extremely pale. His Ruan family was completely finished. The Ruan family disciples who carried the hope of the next generation of the Ruan family were all killed by Xiaoyan Qinglin. Perhaps the Ruan family only suffered a great loss when Ling Feng died. However, now that all the Ruan family disciples were killed, the Ruan family had no hope. There was no hope for them to rise again. Slowly standing up, Xiaoyan Qinglin stared at Ruan Lingyu, who was not far away. Seeing the latter's lifeless eyes and not saying a word, he knew that Ruan Lingyu might not know the whereabouts of Zhuowen. Although you don't know the whereabouts of Zhuowen, you did save Zhuowen. I don't believe that Zhuowen will ignore you when he knows that you are in my hands. As he spoke, Xiaoyan Qinglin took a step forward and arrived in front of Ruan Lingyu. With a wave of his right hand, he lifted her up and soared into the sky. Zhuowen! Get the hell out here! Ruan Lingyu is in my hands right now. If you don't want her to die, get the hell out here right now. Otherwise, I'll kill this beauty in midair. Xiaoyan Qinglin's voice was like thunder from the ninth heaven. It rolled in the air and filled the entire sky. In an instant, all the practitioners in Yen City lifted their heads to look at the sky. Astonishment filled their eyes when they saw Xiaoyan Qinglin and Ruan Lingyu floating in the air. Isn't that Xiaoyan Qinglin from the Xiaoyan family? What is he doing now? The one in his hands seems to be Ruan Lingyu from the Ruan family. Who is Zhuowen? Why did this Xiaoyan Qinglin threaten to look for Zhuowen? Xiaoyan Qinglin's voice was not soft, and all the practitioners in Yen City heard it clearly. An uproar broke out in Yen City. They were all discussing who exactly Zhuowen was for Xiaoyan Qinglin to call him out by name. Oh! Zhuowen! Xiaoyan Qinglin is actually looking for Zhuowen. I will go over and take a look. In a remote corner of Yen City, a figure shrouded in black fog slowly raised his head. His gaze gathered on Xiaoyan Qinglin, who was high up in the sky in the distance. With a cruel laugh, he turned into a black shadow and flew over. In another restaurant in Yen City, a group of Clear Void Valley disciples in green and white robes clustered around Zui Qingfeng as they drank and chatted merrily. Xiaoyan Qinglin's voice rang out at this moment, causing the expressions of the Clear Void Valley disciples to stiffen. Their gazes were focused on Xiaoyan Qinglin in the distant sky. What is this Xiaoyan Qinglin up to? And who is that Zhuowen? Why is this guy asking Zhuowen to come out? The other Clear Void Valley disciples who did not know the truth all revealed puzzled expressions. They were clearly unfamiliar with the Zhuowen that Xiaoyan Qinglin spoke of. After all, Xiaoyan Qinglin was considered an influential figure in Yen City. Generally speaking, the other party who challenged him should also be an influential figure in Yen City. However, the name Zhuowen was so unfamiliar that they had never heard of it before. Surrounded by numerous disciples, Zui Qingfeng's expression changed slightly. The name Zhuowen may be unfamiliar to others, but he was all too familiar with it. It was so familiar that it caused him to grit his teeth. Last time, he had been put into an extremely sorry state by that Zhuowen and had lost quite a bit of face in front of his juniors. Juniors! I still have some matters to attend to, so I will not stay any longer. Goodbye. Zui Qingfeng cupped his hands and bowed to the other disciples at the table. With a wave of his sleeve, he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared from the restaurant. This caused the other disciples to look at each other in confusion. They were all somewhat baffled. On a spacious street, Zhuowen slowly walked, his gaze sweeping over the surrounding stalls. White brow heavenly sovereign silently followed beside Zhuowen. His expression was grave and stern, like a loyal bodyguard. He did not leave Zhuowen's side. Zhuowen! Get out here. Ruan Lingyu is now in my hands. If you don't want her to die, get out here right now. Otherwise, I will kill this beauty in midair. Xiaoyan Qinglin's words rang in Zhuowen's ears. Then, Zhuowen's pupils shrank slightly. He turned his head slightly and immediately saw a young man standing proudly in the void in the distance. In the young man's hands was a woman who was constantly struggling. This woman was the Ruan Lingyu of the Ruan clan. This guy is courting death. Zhuowen's eyes emitted a substantial killing intent. Then, Zhuowen stomped his foot and disappeared on the spot. At this moment, Xiaoyan Qinglin was hovering in mid-air with Ruan Lingyu in his right hand. Seeing that Zhuowen had yet to appear, the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. He sneered at Ruan Lingyu and said, that Zhuowen is not as loyal as you said. I have already threatened to kill you, but that bastard did not appear at all. I'm afraid he is afraid. In that case, you are completely useless. You can die now. Chapter 923. Disregarding everything whoosh. A blood-red light tore through the air. Xiaoyan Qinglin, who was originally aiming for Ruan Lingyu's chest, sensed the blood-red light. His eyes narrowed as he changed the direction of his palm. He spat out yuan power and blasted it towards the blood-red light. Boom! An explosion sounded as a terrifying gale swept out between the blood-red light and Xiaoyan Qinglin. Xiaoyan Qinglin's expression changed slightly as he realized that the power of the blood-red light was extremely terrifying. With a furious roar, Xiaoyan Qinglin pressed his right hand down. A terrifying surge of yuan power surged out and collided with the blood-red light in his palm. Then, the blood-red light was directly blasted away. He was also forced back by the rebound force. His left hand, which was originally holding Ruan Lingyu, loosened. Ruan Lingyu cried out in alarm as she fell from the sky. However, a lightning figure flashed past Ruan Lingyu's body like lightning and hugged her waist. With a leap, the figure flashed onto the roof of a tiled house. Young Master Zhua. Why are you here? That's the #1 genius of the Xiaoyan family, Xiaoyan Qinglin. You better leave this place. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Ruan Lingyu also saw the true face of the figure who had hugged her waist. It was Zhuowen, who had originally left the Ruan family. Her face was filled with surprise, but soon after, she spoke with some worry. Seeing that Ruan Lingyu's first concern was for his safety, Zhuowen's face revealed a trace of a gentle smile. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. This Xiaoyan Qinglin is still no match for me." Looking at the clear and confident young man in front of her, Ruan Lingyu could not help but be a little stunned. Then, she realized that Zhuowen was hugging her waist. Ruan Lingyu's cheeks instantly turned red like a bright red apple. "Young Master Zhua. Can you put me down now?" Ruan Lingyu said softly. "Ah. Sorry, I'll put you down now." Zhuowen was a little embarrassed. He hurriedly put Ruan Lingyu down and touched his nose, not knowing what to say. "Are you two done showing off your love? If you're done showing off, I'll send you to the Yellow Springs," said a cold voice. Xiaoyan Qinglin pressed down with his right hand. Terrifying Yuanli condensed into a mountain-like palm and flew towards Zhuowen and Ruan Lingyu. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed as a terrifying mental strength surged out. The greater limitless sword formation followed the mental strength and covered his body, forming an impenetrable wall in front of him. Rumble. The huge palm made of elemental energy smashed down, causing the iron bastion to shake violently. However, it did not break through the ladder's defense. "Miss Lingyu. You should leave this place first. If the aftermath of the battle spreads, the consequences will be unimaginable." After blocking Xiaoyan Qinglin's origin energy palm, Zhuowen's gaze was as calm as still water as he spoke softly to Ruan Lingyu beside him. Yes. Young Master Zhuo, you must be careful. Ruan Lingyu nodded obediently. She had seen Zhuowen's strength in the training field just now. She knew that it would not be easy for Xiaoyan Qinglin to kill Zhuowen. As she spoke, Ruan Lingyu jumped back into the Ruan clan's training field under the protection of Zhuowen's Yuanli. Lingyu. Are you alright? Ruan Xianfeng hurried to Ruan Lingyu's side and asked guiltily. Ruan Lingyu shook her head and smiled. Father. Don't worry, I'm fine. Ruan Xianfeng checked the meridians in Ruan Lingyu's body. After confirming that she was indeed fine, he let out a sigh of relief. Then, he stared at Zhuowen's back with a complicated gaze. Previously, the Ruan clan had been targeting Zhuowen, causing Zhuowen to leave the Ruan clan in a fit of anger. However, Zhuowen did not care about the past and came to save Ruan Lingyu. The Ruan clan repaid kindness with enmity, while Zhuowen repaid kindness with kindness. Thinking of this, Ruan Xianfeng could not help but feel extremely guilty. Mental energy. It seems that your strength is not bad. You were actually able to block my casual attack. Xiaoyan Qinglin stood in the air and looked down at Zhuowen. Although he was surprised that Zhuowen was able to block his attack, he was still filled with arrogance. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. Isn't this Xiaoyan Qinglin a little too full of himself? Does he think that Zhuowen is amazing for being able to block his casual attack? Or does Xiaoyan Qinglin think that Zhuowen can only block his casual attack? If Xiaoyan Qinglin used his full strength, Zhuowen would not be a match for him. Now that I've used half of my strength, I don't know if you can still block it like before. If you can't, then it's better for you to die. Xiaoyan Qinglin's face was still filled with arrogance. It was as if he thought highly of Zhuowen by using half of his strength. Idiot! Said Zhuowen coldly. Xiaoyan Qinglin's face stiffened. He stared at Zhuowen and said, What did you just say? Do you dare say it again? I said you're an idiot. Are you deaf? Don't you understand human language? Said Zhuowen loudly. Boom! A powerful qi surged out. Xiaoyan Qinglin was shaking with anger. He stared at Zhuowen coldly and said, Good, good, good. You've got guts. How dare you provoke me? But the consequences are very serious. Now, I'm going to use my full strength to kill you. What a terrifying qi. Xiaoyan Qinglin is much stronger than before. He's already half a step into the Xuanzuan realm. He's advancing so fast. He's already half a step into the Xuanzuan realm. Does that mean that Xiaoyan Qinglin will soon advance to the Xuanzuan realm? Sensing the powerful aura emanating from Xiaoyan Qinglin, many of the spectating martial artists in Flame City were shocked. In Flame City, only the 5 demonic geniuses could reach the Mystique Venerate realm. Since Xiaoyan Qinglin could reach the half-step Mystique Venerate realm, it was obvious that he was very close to the 5 demonic geniuses. Are you afraid? But it's useless to be afraid. Now, even if you kneel on the ground and beg me for mercy, I won't let you go. You will die today. At this moment, Xiaoyan Qinglin's qi was very strong. Gusts of wind whistled past. His clothes and hair fluttered. He looked like a god. An idiot will always be an idiot. You think that half a step into the Xuanzuan realm is great, but in my eyes, it's no different from trash, said Zhuowen indifferently. As soon as these words came out, many warriors in the crowd burst into an uproar. Wasn't this mysterious young man too arrogant? He actually dared to say that half a step into the Xuanzuan realm was trash in his eyes. You are very good at talking big, but the price of talking big is often miserable. So, die. Xiaoyan Qinglin snorted coldly. He stamped his foot. Suddenly, a cold air gushed out from his body. His fluttering long hair turned icy blue under the influence of this cold air. Traces of icicles swept out from his hair. Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes turned into a strange icy blue at this moment. It looked very strange. That's the unique skill of the Xiaoyan family, the 9 revolving ice god technique. I didn't expect Xiaoyan Qinglin to use this unique skill at the beginning. It seems that he intends to kill Zhuowen with one blow. Some of the knowledgeable martialists below cried out in surprise when they saw Xiaoyan Qinglin's moves. They looked at Zhuowen with pity in their eyes. First revolving ice. Xiaoyan Qinglin shouted in a low voice. His right hand grasped the void. Endless cold air gushed out and gathered into a big ice hand. It crushed toward Zhuowen. Weeping blood technique. Zhuowen pointed his sword with his right hand. Suddenly, the ultimate sword formation turned into countless bloody lights. A drop of blood dripped down from the void and fell on the barren land. A terrifying pressure gushed out. Boom! The giant ice hand slammed into the crimson light and trembled violently. Then, it disintegrated. The number 1 genius of the Xiaoyan family? Is that all you have? Then were all your big words just now bullshit? Zhuowen's sarcastic voice made Xiaoyan Qinglin's expression change slightly. He snorted coldly and said, "It seems that you have some skills. But if you think that this is all I have, then you are very wrong." Then, Xiaoyan Qinglin grabbed the void again and shouted, "Second revolving spirit, third revolving super." As soon as he said this, an extremely terrifying ice storm arose in the void. 2 more terrifying ice hands stretched out from the storm and were about to grab the ultimate sword formation of the blood technique. Yin-Yang technique. Zhuowen did not want to be outdone. The ultimate sword formation split into yin and yang. The yin and yang pattern rotated at high speed and crushed the 2 ice hands. 4th revolving reversal. Xiaoyan Qinglin was not slow. He performed another spell and the ice storm became even more terrifying. It merged into one and turned into a terrifying funnel-shaped snowstorm that blasted toward the yin and yang sword formation. Buzz! Buzz! The power of the snowstorm was so terrifying that it made the yin and yang sword formation cry out and show signs of collapsing. Heaven's bane. Zhuowen was not in a hurry. His mental energy poured out, and the yin-yang sword formation collapsed. It actually turned into a huge dome and rushed toward the terrifying snowstorm without showing any signs of weakness. Boom! On one side was the heavenly domed dome, and on the other side was the devastating snowstorm. The 2 terrifying and different attacks collided, forming brilliant fireworks and causing the entire void to tremble violently. Damn it! How can this guy's mental strength be so strong? Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes turned gloomy. Originally, he thought that with his half-step Xuanzuan realm cultivation, it should be easy to deal with the ordinary Zhuowen. However, the reality was playing a joke on him. Not only did he fail to capture Zhuowen, but he was also at a disadvantage. This was undoubtedly a slap to his face. I have only learned the 4th revolving ice god technique. If I use the 5th revolving skill with my current strength, I'm afraid I will have to pay a high price. Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes flickered. He finally decided to use the 5th revolving skill. Zhuowen gave him a lot of pressure. He knew that if he did not use the 5th revolving skill, he would not be able to defeat Zhuowen. After all, he had boasted before. If he could not get rid of Zhuowen, he would become the laughingstock of Yen City. This was something that Xiaoyan Qinglin could not accept. 5th revolving divine. Chapter 924. Trample, 5th transformation spirit. As soon as Xiaoyan Qinglin said that, the funnel-shaped snowstorm in the sky started to boil. Then, everyone noticed that there was a huge shadow looming in the snowstorm. Bang! The huge shadow roared and blasted towards the domed dome. Terrifying explosions resounded in the area. Crack. Then, the domed dome collapsed under the attack of the huge shadow. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. It seemed that Xiaoyan Qinglin's 9-transformation ice god technique was not simple. It could unleash such terrifying power. Die. This is what you get for disobeying me, Xiaoyan Qinglin. So, die. Xiaoyan Qinglin's face was pale, but his eyes were full of arrogance. This was the first time he had used the 5th transformation of the 9-transformation ice god technique. In the Xiaoyan family, his father, Xiaoyan Zhua, had only cultivated to the 6th transformation, while his grandfather had cultivated to the 7th transformation. The cultivation method in his hands was extremely powerful. Each revolution was tens or even hundreds of times stronger than the previous revolution. Although the 5th revolution was only 1 revolution away from the 4th revolution, the difference in power between the two was like heaven and earth. A look of surprise flashed across Zhuowen's eyes as a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The sword sign in his right hand changed, and a terrifying aura swept out. Then, the greater infinite sword formation turned back into rays of sword light. The 4th move of the infinite sword formation, 1,000 swords. As soon as the cold voice fell, the countless sword rays above Zhuowen transformed into a hurricane, condensing into many huge longswords. Each longsword was dozens of feet long, sharp and threatening, with a chilling aura soaring to the sky. A total of 1,000 huge swords hovered above Zhuowen. Their terrifyingly sharp sword qi continued to spread in all directions, capable of ripping the surrounding space to shreds. This was the first time Zhuowen had utilized the 4th move of the Greater Infinity Sword Array's 5 great sword moves, the 1,000 Sword style. However, judging from the terrifying power displayed by the 1,000 Swords style, Zhuowen was quite satisfied. Break it! With a leap, Zhuowen stepped on one of the huge swords and flew up. The remaining 999 huge swords followed Zhuowen and swept towards the huge shadow in the snowstorm. Oh! The huge shadow roared and threw a punch. It was wrapped in endless snowstorm and crushed down on Zhuowen. It wanted to kill Zhuowen, who was surrounded by the 1,000 swords. Slash! Zhuowen formed a seal with both hands. Immediately, the 100 huge swords at the front turned into a huge sword shield. With a rumble, the huge shadow's fist hit the huge sword shield. The terrifying power caused the huge sword shield to shake violently, but it did not break through the shield's defense. Following that, the remaining 900 giant swords let out sword hums as they followed Zhuowen's instructions and circled behind the giant shadow, attacking it one after another. The huge swords were extremely sharp and could cut iron like mud. As soon as they sank into the huge shadow, they were able to cut deep wounds, causing the huge shadow to roar in pain. However, the huge shadow's movements were too slow, and Zhuowen's 1,000 swords was extremely fast. Even when the huge shadow reacted, Zhuowen had already controlled the huge swords to leave their original positions, causing the huge shadow to miss. Zhuowen's face was expressionless. He formed a seal with both hands and accurately controlled the huge swords to slash at the huge shadow. As time passed, the huge shadow's huge body was cut smaller and smaller by the huge swords. In the end, it was cut into countless pieces by the huge swords. As soon as the huge shadow died, the surrounding snowstorm also stopped. Then, Zhuowen took the 1,000 huge swords and turned into 1,000 streamers. In an instant, he arrived in front of Xiaoyan Qinglin. One of the huge swords let out a sword hum and stabbed towards Xiaoyan Qinglin. How is this possible? Even the 5th rotation has been broken. How can this guy's mental energy be so terrifying? Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes were filled with both shock and anger. He spat out his right palm and blocked the incoming huge sword. With a stomp of his foot, he transformed into a streamer and fled into the distance. Even his strongest attack was unable to do anything to Zhuowen. Xiaoyan Qinglin knew that if they really fought, he was simply no match for Zhuowen. Hence, he could only flee. Do you think you can escape? Zhuowen's eyes were indifferent. He formed a sword seal with his right hand and 1,000 huge swords flew out, instantly blocking Xiaoyan Qinglin's path. Zhuowen! Don't go overboard. I am the eldest son of the Xiaoyan family. Do you dare to touch me? Xiaoyan Qinglin's expression was ugly as he turned around and coldly stared at Zhuowen. Does it have anything to do with me? Zhuowen's words caused Xiaoyan Qinglin's expression to stiffen slightly. Soon after, he coldly said, you should be well aware of the Xiaoyan family's influence in Yan City. If you dare to kill me, our Xiaoyan family will definitely not let you off. I even killed Xiaoyan Pu, and you even threatened to kill me earlier. Could it be that if I let you off now, your Xiaoyan family will let me off? Zhuowen suddenly sneered. Xiaoyan Qinglin was at death's door, yet he actually dared to use the Xiaoyan family to pressure him. How laughable. Xiaoyan Qinglin coldly snorted and said, if you let me off now, our Xiaoyan family will give you a dignified death. Otherwise, you will suffer a fate worse than death. Oh. You mean that regardless of whether I let you off or not, Zhuowen will die. Then tell me, since I'm going to die no matter what I choose, then why don't I drag you down with me? Zhuowen spoke indifferently. Xiaoyan Qinglin's face stiffened. At this moment, he realized that his words from before were somewhat inappropriate. Weren't those words clearly indicating that he wanted Zhuowen to kill him? However, with Xiaoyan Qinglin's pride, he didn't want to change his words so easily. He merely said indifferently, then do as you deem fit. Offending our Xiaoyan family isn't a wise action. What an idiot. Zhuowen couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the arrogant Xiaoyan Qinglin. He formed a seal with his right hand, and a ray of light swiftly flashed past Xiaoyan Qinglin's legs. Spurt! A stream of blood sprayed out, and strands of mournful red sprinkled down from the sky. A pair of severed legs fell from the sky, and then a miserable and shrill cry resounded. Xiaoyan Qinglin's legs had been severed at the knees. An idiot like you will only bring shame to the Xiaoyan family behind you if you're still alive. Then why are you still alive? Zhuowen's cold voice resounded in the air. Then, he appeared in front of Xiaoyan Qinglin and stepped on his chest, causing Xiaoyan Qinglin to spit out a mouthful of blood. Xiaoyan Qinglin fell to the ground like a meteor, creating a huge crater. Ah! Ah! Zhuowen, you dare to sever my legs? You'll die a horrible death. In the crater, miserable shrieks continuously rang out. Xiaoyan Qinglin struggled in the crater in an extremely sorry state. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were scarlet red. This scene was naturally witnessed by the numerous practitioners in Yan City, especially Xiaoyan Qinglin whose legs had been broken. Every single one of them sucked in a breath of cold air. This young man called Zhuowen who had suddenly appeared had terrifying strength and ruthless methods. Not only was Xiaoyan Qinglin no match for him, but what was even more tragic was that Xiaoyan Qinglin's legs had been severed as well. Although Xiaoyan Qinglin's talent was peerless and his strength was terrifying, losing his legs would make his future martial path bleak. It could even affect his state of mind. Bang! 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 1,000 giant swords descended from the sky and slammed into the surroundings of the crater. With the crater as the center, they formed a circle of swords. Zhuowen slowly stepped down from the air and landed in the center of the crater. He viciously stomped on Xiaoyan Qinglin's chest. Spurt! Xiaoyan Qinglin, who had originally wanted to hurl abuse at Zhuowen, swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. His face flushed red as Zhuowen stepped on him. I severed your legs, and you want me to die a horrible death? But I'm still alive and well. Why would you want me to die a horrible death? Zhuowen said indifferently. Xiaoyan Qinglin's eyes were gloomy. He was already regretting his actions. This Zhuowen in front of him was too terrifying. He actually took the initiative to provoke such a terrifying person. He felt a little stupid. However, it was useless to think about it now. What Xiaoyan Qinglin wanted now was to survive. After all, this Zhuowen in front of him didn't look like an indecisive person. If this Zhuowen really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't hesitate. My legs have been severed by you. Isn't that enough? If you spare my life, I can guarantee that the Xiaoyan family won't do anything to you. Xiaoyan Qinglin was finally afraid. This was the first time he had admitted defeat in front of Zhuowen. He really didn't want to die. He still had a great future. How could he die like this? Oh. Now you're afraid. You're finally begging me for mercy. Zhuowen said with a mocking smile. Yes. Spare my life. My Xiaoyan family won't do anything to you. I promise. Xiaoyan Qinglin quickly said. Boom. Suddenly, a terrifying aura swept over from the horizon. Immediately, a group of figures appeared in the sky above the Ruan family. There were more than 20 of these figures. Each of them had a terrifying aura. The weakest was actually a ninth-wheel ultimate emperor. The strongest was the middle-aged man in the lead. This middle-aged man's aura was full and sharp. He was somewhat similar to Xiaoyan Qinglin. This person's cultivation had reached the peak of the Xuanzuan realm. He was only a step away from the supremacy realm. It's the head of the Xiaoyan family, Xiaoyan Zhuo. Behind him are the true experts of the Xiaoyan family. I didn't expect them to all come. Many of the practitioners in Yen City recognized this mighty lineup of powerful practitioners as shock surfaced on their faces. At this moment, Xiaoyan Qinglin, who was under Zhuowen's foot, was pleasantly surprised. He quickly said to Zhuowen, now that the experts of my Xiaoyan family are here, you'd better let me go. Otherwise, you'll end up very miserable. Are you trying to threaten me again? Zhuowen's eyes were indifferent. He suddenly stomped his foot. Xiaoyan Qinglin was stomped into the ground again. His chest was almost caved in. Fresh blood spurted out. He was almost suffocating. Xiaoyan Qinglin didn't dare to say anything. This Zhuowen was too unscrupulous. The people of the Xiaoyan family were already here. He didn't have any scruples and still treated him like this. He was too lawless. Chapter 925. Xiaoyan Zhuo was furious. Bastard! Quickly let Qinglin go, then bind your own arms, cripple your own cultivation, and kneel before me to beg for forgiveness. Otherwise, I'll make living worse than death for you. Xiaoyan Zhuo berated furiously at Zhuowen, and his voice was thunderous and suffused the surroundings. Zhuowen raised his head slightly and stared indifferently at Xiaoyan Zhuo. You mean that even if I let this piece of trash go, you'll still make me cripple my own cultivation and kneel before you while my life and death will still be in your hands? Xiaoyan Zhuo grunted coldly and said, of course. Who do you think you are? You killed a member of my Xiaoyan clan and caused Qinglin to be reduced to such a state. Allowing you to cripple your own cultivation is already the greatest benevolence I can show you. The greatest benevolence? Zhuowen laughed with ridicule as he stomped his foot down on Xiaoyan Qinglin's chest, causing the latter to spit out a mouthful of blood while his aura weakened to the extreme. Moreover, his eyes were unfocused while he seemed to be in a slightly dazed state. Xiaoyan Qinglin. You have to remember that it wasn't I, Zhuowen, who wanted to kill you, and it was your father who forced me to do so. Since he said that even if I, Zhuowen, let you go, he would still make me cripple my own cultivation and kneel before him. Obviously, he doesn't intend to let me go. Since it's like that, then it just so happens that I can drag you down with me. It wouldn't be a loss in that way. Don't you think so? As he spoke, a blood-red spear appeared in Zhuowen's right palm, and the tip of the blood-red spear just happened to be pressed against Xiaoyan Qinglin's neck. The oppressive cold glow it emanated caused the hairs on Xiaoyan Qinglin's entire body to stand on end, and he hurriedly cried out. Don't kill me. Let me go. Kid. How dare you? Xiao Zuo roared furiously as he flashed towards Zhuowen, and then he pressed down with his right hand, causing a terrifying wave of origin energy to crush down towards Zhuowen like a mountain. Look, your father is forcing me to kill you. Since it's like that, then you should just die. As he gazed at Xiao Zuo who attacked fearlessly, Zhuowen's gaze turned cold, and he swung the blood-red spear horizontally. It instantly swept past Xiao Qinglin's neck and caused strands of blood. Puchi! Xiao Qinglin's eyes widened. Even in death, he still couldn't believe that this Zhuowen had actually dared to kill him. Moreover, he hadn't hesitated in the slightest. Whoosh! 3 pairs of lightning wings unfurled, and Zhuowen turned into an illusory lightning bolt, instantly dodging Xiao Zuo's attack. Silence. At this moment, the surroundings became extremely quiet. Not only the onlookers, but even Xiao Yan, who was rushing forward, stopped in midair. His gaze was fixed on the deep pit below, where Xiao Qinglin had completely lost his breath. After a long period of silence, Xiao Zuo raised his head and roared, "Bastard, you dared to kill my son. Today, I, Xiao Zuo, will kill you. Men, capture this little bastard. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death." As soon as these words came out, more than 20 experts of the Xiao family behind Xiao Zuo nodded. Immediately, their imposing aura became like rainbows, and they surrounded Zhuowen with cold and ruthless gazes. Xiao Zuo came to the deep pit and gently picked up Xiao Qinglin's body. His eyes were filled with grief and indignation. His Xiao family had painstakingly cultivated a monstrous genius, who might even surpass him in the future. Xiao Qinglin had actually died like this. Xiao Zuo only felt his heart ache at this moment. His hatred for Zhuowen was monstrous, and he couldn't wait for Zhuowen to die without a burial place. That Zhuowen is really bold. He actually killed Xiao Qinglin in front of Xiao Zuo. He's really arrogant. He's really arrogant, but I'm afraid this kid's end won't be good. The Xiao family has only had one genius like Xiao Qinglin for many years, and now he's been killed by Zhuowen just like that. Xiao Zuo won't let him go. The Xiao family has sent out all their elite experts this time. Those 20 or so are basically all elders with high positions in the family. 2 of them are even at the early stage of the Xuanzuan realm, while the rest are at the ultimate 9-will emperor realm or above. This lineup is too terrifying. Seeing the lineup that surrounded Zhuowen, many people shook their heads and sighed. Since Zhuowen could defeat Xiao Qinglin, he was clearly a monstrous genius with great talent, but now he was going to die because of this. Many cultivators couldn't help but sigh. "Father, what should we do?" Young Master Zhuo has been surrounded by people from the Xiao family. At this moment, only Wan Xianfeng, Wan Lingyu, and Leng Ying were left in the martial arts field of the Wan family. Wan Lingyu asked worriedly. Wan Xianfeng shook his head and said with a complicated look in his eyes, "I can't do anything about this. Little brother Zhuo is very strong. Killing Xiao Qinglin is probably his limit. I'm afraid he's no match for these 20 or so experts from the Xiao family. Not to mention me." At this point, Wan Xuanfeng's face was full of a bitter smile. Zhuowen's strength was far beyond his expectations. Not only did Zhuowen defeat him, but he even killed Xiao Qinglin, who was half a step away from the Xuanzuan realm. Such strength was considered a monstrous genius at Zhuowen's age. However, a battle of this level was not something he could intervene in. In other words, Wan Xianfeng was no different from an ant in the eyes of the experts from the Xiao family. Leng Ying, who was standing behind the 2, had a venomous look in her eyes. Although Zhuowen's strength had shocked her, she was more resentful because her father, Leng Feng, was killed by Zhuowen. And because of Zhuowen, the Wan family had become what it was today. Leng Ying blamed everything on Zhuowen. She didn't know that if she and Leng Feng hadn't been so aggressive, Zhuowen wouldn't have attacked them. Ling Ying and Ling Feng were the ones who brought this upon themselves. Who could they blame for this? You're Zhuowen, right? How dare you kill someone from the Shaoyan family? You've got guts. More than 20 people surrounded Zhuowen. The auras of the two black-robed old men in the lead were the most vigorous. They were actually at the early stage of the Xuanzun realm. The rest of the people were all at least at the ultimate ninth will emperor realm. Such a lineup was almost the strongest lineup that the Shaoyan family could bring out. In their opinion, it was completely unnecessary for more than 20 people to attack the young man in front of them. However, Shaoyan Zhuo was the head of the Shaoyan family, so they naturally didn't dare to disobey. You've got guts for killing a piece of trash. You think too highly of yourselves. Zhuowen sneered. As soon as these words came out, the pupils of more than 20 people shrank, and their faces turned cold. Zhuowen's words were very vicious. He actually dared to call the number one genius of the Shaoyan family, Shaoyan Qinglin, a piece of trash. Looks like you're really looking for death. Let's kill him together. The two black-robed old men in the lead snorted coldly and waved their right hands. Suddenly, more than 20 people around them erupted with their own auras. They used their own powerful moves and waved them at Zhuowen in the center. For a moment, terrifying origin energy fluctuations spread out in the surroundings. Various colors of origin energy exploded above the void like colorful fireworks. It looked very colorful. That Zhuowen is finished. The joint attack of so many experts is too powerful. Even if Zhuowen's strength has reached the Xuanzun realm, I'm afraid he can't withstand such a terrifying attack. Many warriors below Yen City looked up at the sky. Naturally, they also saw the intersecting energy balls that were constantly exploding. All of them revealed looks of surprise. The joint attack of more than 20 experts was indeed terrifying. Even an early-stage warrior of the Xuanzun realm would probably be smashed to pieces if he was caught in the explosion of the energy balls, let alone Zhuowen. In the void, the two black-robed old men in the lead raised the corners of their mouths and revealed a victorious smile. They were quite satisfied with the powerful attack of more than 20 people. Let's go. This kid is definitely going to die. Let's return to our master. The two black-robed old men waved their hands. Immediately, the remaining 20 people followed behind the two old men. They intended to leave the void and rush towards Shaoyan Zhuo below. Did I allow you to leave? A calm voice slowly rang out in the void. It was very flat and faint, but it sounded like an echo in everyone's ears. The 20-plus people who were about to leave stiffened. They immediately turned their heads to look at the explosion cluster behind them. After which, they were stunned to discover that a human figure was slowly walking out from the explosion cluster. It was as though he was not afraid of the surrounding terrifying energy erosion. When this figure completely appeared before them, they noticed that an enormous furnace was actually floating above this person's head. The surface of this furnace was inscribed with the talisman markings of the sun, and it was precisely Zhuowen's monarch rank spirit treasure, the divine sun furnace. Waves of sun fire revolved around Zhuowen's body, resisting the erosion of the surrounding terrifying energy. At this moment, Zhuowen was like a sun god. He appeared so dazzling and brilliant. What kind of soul treasure is this? Why does it have such a powerful aura? The two old men in the lead revealed expressions of surprise and bewilderment. The aura of the divine sun furnace floating above Zhuowen's head was too terrifying. It was so terrifying that the two old men couldn't help but have the thought of submitting to it. Could it be a royal soul treasure? Soon, the two black-robed old men thought of a possibility. The two of them were cultivators of the Xuanzun realm, so they had naturally seen heaven's soul treasures before. As for royal soul treasures, they had only seen one from the ancestor of the Shaoyan family. The aura of the divine sun furnace on the young man in front of them was almost the same as the royal soul treasure used by the ancestor of the Shaoyan family. Needless to say, this furnace was definitely a royal soul treasure. It's actually a royal soul treasure. This brat who stinks of milk actually has such a treasure. It's really a waste. This kind of treasure should belong to our Xiaoyan family. It's most suitable. After the shock, the two black-robed old men looked at each other and saw a hint of greed in their eyes. They were determined to get this royal soul treasure. Ha! Brat, you're quite a good person. You actually took out such a treasure. Since you've taken it out, we won't be polite and accept it. As the two black-robed old men spoke, they led more than 20 people behind them and flew towards Zhuowen. They wanted to capture Zhuowen and seize the divine sun furnace. Killing people and seizing treasures? I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications. Chapter 926. Sneak attack. The sun runes on the surface of the divine sun cauldron burst out with an extremely terrifying light. Waves of blazing sun fire surged out, enveloping the two black-robed old men and more than 20 experts of the Xiaoyan family. The sun fire was extremely terrifying. An ordinary Ultimate Emperor realm expert would not be able to withstand it at all. Inside the sun fire, apart from the two black-robed old men with the highest cultivation who could barely withstand it, the other 20 Xiaoyan family elders were all swallowed by the sea of fire and disappeared. How can it be so terrifying? The two black-robed old men in the sea of fire naturally noticed the other people being swallowed by the sea of fire. Their eyes were filled with fear. The terrifying might of the sun's flame was beyond the two old men's expectations. Zhuowen waved his right hand, and the divine sun cauldron floating in the air quietly landed in his right palm. Then, he stared coldly at the two black-robed old men in the sea of fire and said indifferently, "This spirit treasure is called the divine sun cauldron. Don't you want it? Just come and take it." As soon as these words were said, the two black-robed old men's faces stiffened. Was Zhuowen joking? They were trapped in the sea of fire and were barely holding on. This kid actually wanted them to come and take the divine sun cauldron. Was he deliberately angering them? Since you don't want it, then die. As he spoke, Zhuowen's eyes were filled with killing intent. His right hand suddenly slammed onto the surface of the divine sun cauldron. Immediately, an even more terrifying sun fire surged out from the cauldron and drowned the two black-robed old men. No! Spare us! It was not our intention to come and kill you. As long as you let us go, we are willing to follow you. The two black-robed old men's terrified cries came from the sea of fire. It was too terrifying. This sun fire could completely kill the two of them. They were truly afraid. At this moment, in a huge pit below Yan City, Xiaoyan Zhua slowly put down the corpse of Xiaoyan Qinglin. He stared at the expert of the Xiaoyan family who had been instantly killed in surprise. Especially the words of the two black-robed old men, it caused Xiaoyan Zhua's gaze to turn extremely gloomy. He had never imagined that the situation would develop in such a way. Moreover, he had never imagined that Zhuowen would actually possess such a terrifying royal rank spiritual treasure. Follow me. You two trash really aren't qualified. Just die for me. Zhuowen coldly snorted, no longer showing any mercy. Endless sun flames spread out, completely submerging the two black-robed old men. Not long after, the screams of the two black-robed old men were completely extinguished. Whoosh! Waves of sun fire once again entered the divine sun furnace, and the two black-robed elders were completely turned into ashes. In an instant, more than 20 elite experts from the Xiaoyan family had been completely annihilated. Not only were the spectating cultivators in Yan City shocked, even Xiaoyan Zhua couldn't help but twitch his mouth, his expression extremely ugly. Xiaoyan clan head, didn't you just make me, Zhuowen, wish I was dead? Why haven't you come up yet? After he dealt with the two black-robed old men, Zhuowen stood in midair and looked down at Xiaoyan Zhua who had an unsightly expression. His gaze was ghastly and indifferent while his shout resounded out like rumbling thunder and suffused the entire expanse of space. Hua! Zhuowen's voice was neither loud nor soft, but many cultivators within a radius of dozens of miles could hear it clearly. Then, their gazes converged on Xiao Yanzhua in unison. Xiao Yanzhua's eyes were gloomy as he felt the gazes of so many people. In fact, after Zhuowen took out the Divine Sun Furnace and easily killed more than 20 elite experts of the Xiaoyan family, Xiao Yanzhua was already a little scared. Although his cultivation was good, it was only at the peak of the Xuanzun realm. However, among the more than 20 cultivators, the two black-robed old men were also at the initial stage of the Xuanzun realm, although their cultivation was not as good as his. Even if he could win against more than 20 experts, it would be impossible for him to win as easily as Zhuowen. Moreover, Zhuowen had easily killed more than 20 experts. Therefore, at this moment, Xiao Yanzhua hesitated. He began to lose confidence in Zhuowen. What? What are you hesitating for, Xiaoyan family head? I, Zhuowen, want to see how you, Xiaoyan family head, will make my life worse than death. What's wrong? Are you scared? Zhuowen's sneering voice spread throughout the entire void, causing many cultivators' gazes to become strange. Could it be as Zhuowen said, that the Xiaoyan family head, Xiao Yanzhua, was really scared? Xiao Yanzhua coldly snorted and stamped his foot. Waves of cold air covered his whole body as he floated in the air and landed 100 meters away from Zhuowen. His eyes were gloomy as he said, "You're Zhuowen, right? It seems that you're really arrogant. Do you really think that you can fight against my Xiaoyan family alone? Xiaoyan family head, you're exaggerating. This kid didn't say that. It's just that the more than 20 so-called elite experts you sent before seem to be quite useless. Therefore, I hope that the family head can send some decent experts instead of some random cats and dogs to mess with people." As soon as Zhuowen said this, Xiao Yanzhua's face stiffened and his whole body trembled. This was going too far. This Zhuowen not only killed more than 20 high-level cultivators of the Xiaoyan family, but now he was ridiculing the high-level cultivators of the Xiaoyan family. Wasn't this a disguised way of saying that the experts of the Xiaoyan family were all useless? You're very conceited, but generally, conceited people die early. I don't think you can escape this fate, Xiao Yanzhua said coldly. Zhuowen's eyes were as calm as water as he said indifferently, then there's no need for the Xiaoyan family head to worry. As long as an enemy obstructs me, Zhuowen, I'll kill them all, regardless of their background. However, as soon as Zhuowen finished speaking, he noticed a strange smile on the corner of Xiao Yanzhua's mouth. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed and a trace of ominous feeling rose in his heart. Whoosh! A wisp of black light silently swept over from behind Zhuowen's back. It was silent, like a lonely shadow in the middle of the night. By the time Zhuowen noticed it, the wisp of black light was already close to him. A cold sharp edge was already pressed against the skin of his back. As long as it moved forward a little bit, the sharp edge would be able to pierce through Zhuowen's back. Dodge! Zhuowen shouted angrily. He moved his feet and lowered his body. The sharp edge that was piercing towards his back suddenly pierced towards his shoulder blade. Puchi! The sound of flesh being pierced was heard. A black long sword surrounded by a black mist pierced through Zhuowen's shoulder blade from the back, bringing out a stream of blood. 3 pairs of lightning wings unfurled as Zhuowen turned into a bolt of lightning and flew backwards. He then turned his head with an extremely gloomy gaze and stared at the person who had just ambushed him. The person who appeared in front of Zhuowen was a figure completely covered in black mist. Naturally, Zhuowen recognized this person. Wasn't he the Devil Shadow from the Heavenly Peak Devil Palace who had chased after him in the dense forest? Hee. Your vigilance is quite strong. You were actually able to dodge my sure-kill attack. Moreover, your strength seems to be much stronger than before. The Devil Shadow's cold voice was heard. There was a trace of astonishment in his voice. Looks like my luck is pretty good. I actually met so many acquaintances here. A lazy voice was heard. Then, Zui Qingfeng, who was dressed in a green and white robe, held a jade wine gourd in his hand. He poured the wine into his mouth with his right hand and burped at the same time. He looked at Zhuowen with drunken eyes. However, Zhuowen could see that the drunkenness in Zui Qingfeng's eyes was a kind of disguise. In those drunken eyes, there was a deep chill. This chill was targeted at Zhuowen. Back then, Zui Qingfeng had been put in an extremely difficult situation because of Zhuowen. Zui Qingfeng had never forgotten that. Now that he had met this Zhuowen, he would definitely not let him go. Clear Void Valley's Zui Qingfeng, Devil's Shadow from the Heavenly Peak Devil Palace. I never thought that these two monstrous geniuses would be lured out. This is really surprising. Seeing the sudden appearance of these two people, many of the Yen city's practitioners were shocked. Zui Qingfeng and Devil's Shadow were young geniuses who were much more terrifying than Xiaoyan Qinglin. Their strength was not inferior to the head of the Xiaoyan family, Xiaoyan Zhua. Moreover, looking at Zui Qingfeng and Devil's Shadow's appearance, they seemed to know Zhuowen. There seemed to be a certain grudge between them. Otherwise, Devil's Shadow would not have suddenly launched a sneak attack when Zhuowen and Xiaoyan Zhua were confronting each other. I never thought that the two young masters, Devil's Shadow and Zui Qingfeng, would also come. From the looks of it, the two of you are also somewhat dissatisfied with this Zhuowen. Why don't the three of us join forces to completely capture this child? After all, this child has many secrets on him. The two young masters should be somewhat tempted, right? Xiaoyan Zhua politely cupped his hands towards Devil's Shadow and Zui Qingfeng. He knew about Devil's Shadow's sneak attack because Devil's Shadow had sent a message to him, telling him to try his best to attract Zhuowen's attention so that he could succeed in his sneak attack. However, Zhuowen's vigilance was too strong. His reaction was also extremely fast. Under the sneak attack that was sure to kill him, he was actually able to avoid being hit in his vitals. Xiaoyan family head is too polite. This Zhuowen does indeed have many secrets on him. Moreover, this child's strength is not weak. We only need to delay this child. I have already secretly informed the palace master. He. When the palace master arrives, this child will not be able to escape. Devil's Shadow politely replied to Xiaoyan Zhua. What? The palace master of the Heavenly Peak Devil Palace, Senior Devil Dozi, is also coming? Xiaoyan Zhua was shocked. Although this Zhuowen's strength was not bad, it was still not enough for the palace master of the Heavenly Peak Devil Palace, Master Devil Dozi, to personally take action. At the very least, Xiaoyan Zhua felt that Master Devil Dozi was making a fuss over nothing. He. Our Clear Void Valley's sect master is also on his way. He should be arriving soon. Zui Qingfeng also cupped his hands and said. What? Even the Clear Void Valley's sect master, Senior Qing Shuzi, is coming? Xiaoyan Zhua finally exclaimed in shock. He was already shocked enough that Master Devil Dozi was coming. Now that even Qing Shuzi was coming, Xiaoyan Zhua really did not know what to say. Thinking of this, Xiaoyan Zhua's gaze could not help but size up Zhuowen, who was not far away. Could it be that this child had some kind of big secret on him that he could actually provoke the two giants of the great Yen city, Master Devil Dozi and Qing Shuzi, to fight over him? This child is definitely not simple. I have to report this to the ancestor. Chapter 927. Explosive strength. The three of us only need to delay this brat. There's no need to risk our lives. After all, in our opinion, this brat is dead for sure. Mo Ing laughed sinisterly. Brother Mo Ing is right. However, your Celestial Peak Devil Palace is much further away from Yen City than our Clear Void Valley. When the time comes, our sect master should arrive first. If our Clear Void Valley manages to capture him first, your Celestial Peak Devil Palace's senior demon Taoist won't need to come. Zui Qingfeng gulped down another mouthful of wine from his jade gourd. His face was slightly flushed and his eyes were hazy. Mo Ying narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "The palace master possesses the power of the devil. Even if the celestial peak Devil Palace is further away from your clear void valley, the palace master's speed won't be much slower than your clear void valley's Qing Su." Xiaoyan's eyes flickered. Just now, he had already crushed the jade talisman. The ancestor of the Xiaoyan family who was in seclusion had almost received it and was currently on his way. Their Xiaoyan family was in Yan City and was the closest to them. There was no doubt that their Xiaoyan clan's ancestor would be the first to arrive. If their ancestor could capture Zhuo Wen before Master Demon Daoist and Master Qing Su arrived, then although they wouldn't be able to keep all the benefits, they would still be able to get a share of the spoils. Just as the three of them each had their own ulterior motives and thought that Zhuo Wen had already been captured, an extremely terrifying aura erupted from the center of the three of them, attracting their attention. When their gazes gathered on the owner of this aura, they were all shocked. The source of this aura was actually Zhuo Wen, whom they had overlooked. "This aura is the sovereign stage." Xiaoyan's mouth opened slightly as he spat out these words. Zui Qingfeng and Mo Ying exchanged glances. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. It was actually the sovereign stage. When they were chasing Zhuo Wen, he was merely an ultimate three-wheel emperor. How could he erupt with such a terrifying aura now? Could it be that this brat has been hiding his cultivation all this time? Zui Qingfeng's eyes flickered as he said solemnly. Mo Ying's eyelids twitched. He discovered a bone-chilling gaze staring straight at him, causing him to feel uneasy. The owner of this gaze was none other than Zhuo Wen. "Demon Shadow. You're really something, you actually dared to sneak attack me." Zhuo Wen's voice was terrifyingly calm, but everyone knew that beneath this calmness was a monstrous killing intent. This Mo Ying's ability to hide was very strong. Just now, Zhuo Wen's attention was fully attracted by Xiaoyan's, so the former's sneak attack was successful. At that moment, if Zhuo Wen's actions were a beat slower, the Mo Ying's sword would have pierced his heart. At that time, there was really no way to save the situation. "Today, you must die." Zhuo Wen's indifferent voice resounded. He stomped his foot, waved the blood spear in his hand, and used the Azura blood spear. Countless cracks appeared in the void, and an endless sea of blood gushed out from those cracks. "Kill!" With a loud roar, Zhuo Wen rushed towards the demonic figure with the sea of blood wrapped around him. His killing intent soared to the heavens, and the sea of blood wreaked havoc. At this moment, Zhuo Wen was like a demon god that had returned from Azura hell. "Xiaoyan's, Zui Qingfeng, what are you two still watching? Hurry up and block this kid with me. As long as the palace master or Qing Su arrives, this kid won't be able to escape." The demonic figure stretched out his right hand, and a long sword surrounded by black fog appeared in his palm. He slashed the void, and a terrifying black energy spread across the void, turning into a huge sword shadow that slashed towards Zhuo Wen. At the same time, he retreated and shouted at Zui Qingfeng and Xiaoyan's. Zui Qingfeng and Xiaoyan's expressions were solemn. After Zhuo Wen revealed his supreme stage aura, they no longer looked relaxed. In their hearts, they were cursing Zhuo Wen for hiding his cultivation. Clear void sword technique, slash. Zui Qingfeng formed a sword technique with both hands, and wisps of green origin energy shot out, turning into thousands of sword shadows in the void, and swept towards Zhuo Wen. At the same time, Xiaoyan's formed a complicated seal with both hands. He was actually using the 9 transformation ice god technique that Xiao Yanqing Lin had used before. 5th transformation ice god, die. Xiaoyan's pressed down with both hands, and a terrifying snowstorm appeared behind him. Within the snowstorm, a huge shadow was faintly discernible, stepping on the void. The 9 transformation ice god technique that Xiaoyan's had used was much more powerful than Xiao Yanqing Lin's, and the giant shadow's might was also much more terrifying than Xiao Yanqing Lin's. The black sword shadow that spanned across the void, the thousands of green sword shadows that were wantonly unleashed, and the terrifying giant figure that was stomping through the snowstorm formed a triangular formation. The three attacks headed straight for Zhuo Wen, who was in the center. The entire void was enveloped by these three terrifying attacks. All the cultivators in Yen City looked up at the sky with their mouths slightly agape. They had long been stunned by these three terrifying attacks. These were the joint attacks of three Xuanzuan realm powerhouses, and these three Xuanzuan realm powerhouses weren't ordinary cultivators. Not to mention that Xiao Yanzhua was at the peak of the Xuanzuan realm, Zui Qingfeng and Mo Ying were the peerless geniuses of Yen City, and their combat strength was far from what ordinary Xuanzuan realm cultivators could compare with. The three of them had extraordinary combat strength, and when they joined forces, they could even kill an early-stage Supreme Being cultivator. Although Zhuowen had erupted with the aura of a Supreme Being, in the eyes of the three of them, he wasn't a match for their joint attack. Divine Sun Cauldron, 3 consecutive suns. Zhuowen coldly shouted, and the sun runes on the surface of the Divine Sun Cauldron above his head became even more blazing and dazzling, and 3 huge blazing suns surged out. The surface of these 3 blazing suns surged with the flames of the sun, and they emitted a golden radiance that couldn't be looked at directly. The 3 blazing suns swept towards the 3 attacks, emitting light and heat, and instantly collided with the 3 attacks. Boom! A deafening explosion resounded, and then the 3 attacks and the 3 blazing suns in the void turned into nothingness at the same time. Zhuowen stepped on the endless flames of the sun and instantly arrived in front of Mo Ying. Die! With a twist of his right hand, the blood spear spun at high speed and swept towards the center of Mo Ying's brows. Countless seas of blood wrapped around Mo Ying, forming a blood barrier that made it impossible for him to dodge. Mo Ying's eyes were gloomy as he held the black sword in his hand horizontally. All the black mist on his body gathered on the black sword, and in an instant, the slender black sword rapidly expanded, turning into 100 feet long. It stood horizontally in front of him like a sturdy sword shield. Can you block it? The chilling look in Zhuo Wen's eyes grew even more intense. The blood-red spear pressed against the sword and shield, emitting an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing against metal. It actually caused the demonic figure to continuously retreat. Break! Zhuowen's right hand slapped the hilt of the blood spear, and a powerful force surged out, and a touch of demonic red appeared on the tip of the blood spear. Crack! The black sword shield did not last for long. Under the terrifying power of the blood spear, traces of cracks appeared on its surface, and it finally crumbled into black powder. Swoosh! With the sword shield broken, Zhuowen held the blood spear in his hand, and instantly passed by Mo Ying. Soon after, a miserable shriek continuously resounded in the sky above Yen City. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Numerous gazes gathered on the owner of the miserable shriek, and soon after, gasps rang out. The person who let out that miserable shriek was none other than the evildoer Mo Ying from the Heaven Peak Devil Palace. At this moment, Mo Ying was in an exceptionally miserable state. His arms and legs were all broken, and fresh blood spurted out, forming a misty blood rain in the sky. Ah! Zhuowen, you actually dared to break my limbs. You are so ruthless. Mo Ying was on the verge of going crazy. Previously, he had lost his right arm because of Zhuowen, and it was already extremely humiliating. Fortunately, the demon had used a secret technique to regenerate his arm. However, Zhuowen did not kill him. Instead, he had broken his limbs in front of countless practitioners in Yen City. This was a naked humiliation that Mo Ying could not tolerate. Zhuowen glanced indifferently at Mo Ying, whose limbs had been broken, and no longer paid any attention to him. Instead, he turned around and stared coldly at Zui Qingfeng and Xiao Yanzhua, who were nearby. The bone-chilling coldness made the two of them feel uneasy. So powerful. This kid is only around 20 years old. Not only has his cultivation reached the initial stage of the sovereign stage, but Mo Ying, Zui Qingfeng and Xiao Yanzua's combined forces were also easily broken by him. Mo Ying even had his limbs broken. In terms of talent and strength, this kid is probably not inferior to the imperial family's prince, Mo Lingtian. When did such a monstrous genius appear in Yen City? After Zhuowen had broken Mo Ying's limbs, Zhuowen had become the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone was guessing the origin and identity of this young man named Zhuowen. In the Ruan clan's martial arts arena, whether it was Ruan Xianfeng, Wan Lingyu, or Leng Ying, the three of them stood motionless like statues as they stared blankly at the devil-like figure in the sky. No matter what, they would never have imagined that the youth they thought to be ordinary would actually possess such formidable strength. Not only were Xiao Yanzua, Zui Qingfeng, and Mo Ying's combined forces not a match for him, but Mo Ying's limbs were completely crippled by Zhuowen as soon as they met. In their opinion, Xiao Yanzua, Zui Qingfeng and Mo Ying were all influential figures in Yen City. In their eyes, they were lofty and unreachable existences. But now, they had been crushed by Zhuowen, and Mo Ying's fate was even more miserable. Lingyu. Where did this Zhuowen come from? How can his strength be so terrifying? Wan Xuanfeng's voice trembled as he spoke. Wan Lingyu shook her head and said with a complicated gaze, "Actually, I'm not sure either. Back then, we only rescued young Master Zhua from the road. Who knew that young Master Zhua had hidden his strength so well? Lingyu. With your kindness of saving him back then, if our Ruan clan has such a person to help us, how can we not rise?" Wan Xuanfeng's eyes flickered as he spoke. Wan Lingyu glanced at Wan Xianfeng indifferently and said with waning interest, "Father. Young Master Zhua has already completely expelled the cold from my body. He has already repaid the debt of saving my life. He doesn't owe our Ruan clan anything. On the contrary, our Ruan clan has been targeting him and going up against the Xiaoyan clan alone. Now that you've seen young Master Zhua's outstanding strength, do you think it's possible for him to revive our Ruan clan?" Wan Lingyu was somewhat disappointed in her father, Wan Xianfeng. Previously, he had treated Zhuowen in such a manner. Not only did Zhuowen not repay kindness with enmity, he even helped the Ruan clan go up against the Xiaoyan clan. Chapter 928. Flowing sword form, the two of you should stay behind as well. After saying that, Zhuowen took a step forward and 3 pairs of lightning wings unfurled. He turned into a flash of lightning as the sea of blood behind him revolved around him, making him look terrifying and bloody. Xiao Yanzua and Zui Qingfeng's expressions changed slightly. The scene of Zhuowen instantly severing Mo Ying's 4 limbs was still fresh in their minds. They also began to feel a trace of fear towards Zhuowen. "Young Master Zui Qingfeng, we only need to delay this person for a quarter of an hour. My Xiaoyan family's old ancestor will arrive soon. I hope you can lend me a hand." Xiao Yanzua said to Zui Qingfeng somewhat anxiously. "A quarter of an hour?" Zui Qingfeng shot a meaningful glance at Xiao Yanzua. It seemed like this Xiao Yanzua wasn't someone easy to deal with. He actually secretly notified his family's old ancestor. Moreover, the Xiaoyan family was located in Yen City. Therefore, their old ancestor would arrive much faster than their Clear Void Valley and Devil Palace. According to Qing Shuzi's speed, Zui Qingfeng estimated that it would take him around half an incense stick's time to reach Yen City. Originally, this amount of time wasn't considered long for Zui Qingfeng. However, Zhuowen's strength had exceeded their expectations. He actually possessed a cultivation at the initial stage of the Exalted Realm. Moreover, his combat strength wasn't something an ordinary Exalted Realm cultivator could compare to. He'd broken through their joint attack in a few moves. The most miserable one was Mo Ying. All 4 of his limbs had been severed by Zhuowen. If he couldn't recover, he would become a cripple from now on. Right now, Zui Qingfeng couldn't wait for more experts to arrive and restrain this troublesome fellow. The Shaoyan family's old ancestor was a good candidate. Because the Shaoyan family had a good relationship with the Clear Void Valley, even if Zhuowen was captured by the Shaoyan family's old ancestor, with Qing Shuzi's face, he could absolutely split the secrets on Zhuowen with the Shaoyan family's old ancestor. Good. Let's delay him for a quarter of an hour. As he spoke, Zui Qingfeng's gaze became extremely solemn. He slapped the jade wine gourd in his hand with his right hand. A green light flickered as the wine gourd continued to expand. It expanded until it was several dozen feet in size. When the cork was pulled out, the wine inside gushed out and transformed into giant water pythons. There were a total of 20 of them, and each of them was nearly 300 feet in size. Xiao Yanzue didn't hold back either. He changed his hand seal, and waves of ice blue cold air raged, wrapping his whole body in it. It actually formed a layer of ice blue armor around his body. Xiao Yanzue's aura had actually risen from the peak of the Xuanzuan realm to the early stage of the Supreme Being realm, the same realm as Zhuowen. 6th Evolution Armor. Xiao Yanzue had cultivated the 9 transformation ice god technique to the 6th transformation. The 6th transformation could release all the cold energy in the body and attach it to the surface of the caster's body, temporarily increasing the caster's strength. Kill! Xiao Yanzue shouted loudly as he took a step forward, and then he flashed towards Zhuowen while covered in boundless icy blue cold energy. Zhuowen stood with his spear in hand. He took a step and also swept towards Xiao Yanzue, not to be outdone. He swung his blood spear, and a monstrous sea of blood enveloped Xiao Yanzue. A powerful blood energy erupted, wanting to completely crush Xiao Yanzue. However, the ice blue armor on the surface of Xiao Yanzue's body had extremely terrifying defensive power. The sea of blood that came into contact with the armor was actually frozen into ice by the powerful cold intent. Boom! 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 In just an instant, the sea of blood that wrapped around Xiao Yanzue's body completely stilled and was condensed into a blood-red ice cube by the powerful cold energy. Then, the blood-red ice cube shattered, and Xiao Yanzue threw a punch at Zhuowen with a domineering aura. Humph! With a cold snort, Zhuowen swept out with his blood spear. The sharp tip of the spear collided with Xiao Yanzue's fist, and a powerful force exploded out, forming a ring-shaped shockwave. Xiao Yanzue let out a muffled groan and retreated dozens of steps, while Zhuowen retreated 3 steps. There was no doubt that Zhuowen had the absolute upper hand in the first confrontation between the two. Boom! The moment Zhuowen stabilized his body, a series of roars sounded. Then, more than 20 huge anacondas that had been ready to attack intertwined with each other and swept towards Zhuowen. Their huge heads looked extremely ferocious. Zhuowen's eyes turned cold. He formed a sword sign with his right hand, and the infinite sword formation turned into rays of cold light that circled around Zhuowen's body. The 5th sword move of the infinite sword formation, flowing sword style. Then, the infinite sword formation turned into rays of sword light and began to spin above Zhuowen's head at high speed, turning into a terrifying sword light storm. The flowing sword style was a move that turned the sword light in the sword formation into a flowing wind, and formed a terrifying sword storm in a rotating manner. Its power was extremely shocking and terrifying. The flowing sword style was also the most powerful of the 5 sword moves of the infinite sword formation. Zhuowen had already comprehended it back then, but he had never had the chance to use it. Puchi! The sword storm's power was extremely barbaric and terrifying. Although the surrounding anacondas were very ferocious, they were all crushed into countless water droplets in front of the sword storm. Not a single one survived. Whoosh! After killing more than 20 anacondas in an instant, the sword storm did not stop. It swept towards Zui Qingfeng in the sky, wanting to kill him as well. Zui Qingfeng's face changed slightly. He formed a sword sign with both hands, and countless sword shadows appeared around him, forming a sword shadow barrier. Countless sword shadows flickered in the barrier, and it looked quite spectacular. Bang! 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 When the sword storm and the sword shadow barrier collided, the sound of heaven and earth shattering rang out. Then, the sword shadow barrier shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. Damn it! This guy. Zui Qingfeng's face turned ugly. A jade-colored leaf appeared in his right hand, and a trace of pain appeared in his eyes. This jade-colored leaf had the ability to teleport, and he did not have many on him. Last time, he had used one because of Zhuowen, and this time, he was forced to use it because of Zhuowen. How could Zui Qingfeng not feel pain? Crack! A crisp sound rang out, causing Zui Qingfeng's face to turn gloomy. He sighed and had no choice but to crush the jade-colored leaf. The moment the sword shadow barrier collapsed, Zui Qingfeng had already disappeared thousands of miles away. He escaped pretty fast. Seeing Zui Qingfeng teleport again, Zhuowen did not pursue the matter. Instead, he looked at Xiao Yanzhua and said indifferently, "Since Zui Qingfeng has already escaped, I can only vent my anger on you." As he spoke, Zhuowen stomped his foot, and the Azura blood spear was unleashed to the extreme. An endless sea of blood gushed out from the void, and Zhuowen's eyes turned scarlet, filled with bloodthirst. Kill! Looking at Zui Qingfeng fleeing and Zhuowen rushing in front of him, Xiao Yanzua's face turned ugly. He said in a low voice, "Old ancestor will be here soon. I just need to hold on for a while. I don't believe that Zhuowen can kill me in such a short time." Clenching his teeth, Xiao Yanzhua did not retreat. Instead, he rushed towards Zhuowen. He threw out a punch, releasing a terrifying chill that seemed to shatter the surrounding space. Boom! 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 In just an instant, the two of them collided, and a terrifying battle erupted. Needless to say, Xiao Yanzhua was at an absolute disadvantage. Fortunately, Xiao Yanzua's armor was extremely sturdy. Even Zhuowen's blood spear could not pierce through it. Zhuowen. Our Xiao Yanzhua family's 9 transformation ice god technique has many powerful abilities. The armor on my body is transformed from the 6th transformation, and its defense is extremely powerful. So what if you're stronger than me? You can't pierce through my armor. You can only be held back by me. Seeing that Zhuowen's attack did not pierce through his armor, Xiao Yanzhua felt relieved and couldn't help but mock him. You want to die so badly? Very well, I'll fulfill your wish. Zhuowen's cold voice sounded, causing Xiao Yanzua's face to stiffen. What did Zhuowen mean? Could it be that he has more powerful means? But soon, Xiao Yanzhua rejected this idea. The current Zhuowen was already abnormal enough. If Zhuowen had more powerful means, then it would really be heaven-defying. Great Sun Nirvana Nirvana. Zhuowen's low voice sounded. Then, Xiao Yanzhua was shocked to see that Zhuowen had turned into 3 heads and 6 arms. Each of his 6 arms held a long spear, and Zhuowen's aura was several times stronger than before. 3 heads and 6 arms? Are you kidding me? What kind of secret technique is this? Xiao Yanzhua was stunned, and his lips trembled as he muttered. Azura blood spear aura, die for me. Zhuowen roared, and his 6 arms displayed the Azura blood spear aura at the same time. Suddenly, an endless sea of blood gushed out from the void. It was as if the entire sky was covered by the sea of blood, and it looked extremely terrifying. No! Xiao Yanzhua also felt the power of the sea of blood. It was much more terrifying than before, and deep fear and coldness appeared in his eyes. Puchi! The power of the sea of blood poured down, and heavily bombarded Xiao Yanzua's body. Then, the indestructible armor on Xiao Yanzua's body was torn to pieces. Xiao Yanzhua spat out a mouthful of blood, and fell from the sky like a withered leaf. His body was covered in blood, and he looked extremely miserable. I'll send you on your last journey. Zhuowen looked down at the falling Xiao Yanzhua, took out a long spear, and threw it at Xiao Yanzhua with extreme speed. You dare to kill the head of my Xiao Yanzhua family? You're really bold. Get out of my way. A loud roar came from the sky, and then a burst of energy shot out and blocked the long spear. The long spear was deflected, and it swept past Xiao Yanzhua. Looking up, Zhuowen also noticed the figure that swept over from the sky. He said indifferently, "Who are you? How dare you meddle in my business?" The figure was wearing a long robe, and his hair was very short, with both sides of his hair white. He was actually a short-haired old man, and there was a deep scar on the right side of his face, which made him look extremely ferocious. I'm Xiao Yanba, the ancestor of the Xiao Yanzhua family. I think you're really bold. How dare you brazenly kill the people of my Xiao Yanzhua family? Xiao Yanba snorted coldly. At this moment, his figure was still 1,000 miles away, and his voice was spread by Yuan force. You can't stop the people that I, Zhuowen, want to kill. Chapter 929. Bai Mei shows his might, little bastard, how dare you? Xiao Yanba shouted angrily. Unfortunately, he was now 1,000 miles away from Zhuowen. It would take him some time to reach Zhuowen, so he couldn't stop him in time. If you dare to kill Xiao Yanzhua, my Xiao Yan family will not rest until you are dead. Xiao Yanba's voice boomed, but it didn't stop Zhuowen. Instead, he rushed toward Xiao Yanzhua at an even faster speed. Xiao Yanba's eyes widened and he flew into a rage. This kid is too arrogant. I have already said so, but this kid still dares to kill Xiao Yanzhua. He is really lawless. Don't kill me. I swear that if you don't kill me, my Xiao Yan family will not pursue the matter anymore. Xiao Yanzhua screamed. You won't pursue the matter. Although you said so, I still believe a dead person. After saying that, Zhuowen's 6 arms smashed down together. The terrifying force crushed Xiao Yanzhua, who didn't even have the chance to make a sound, exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Xiao Yanzhua's nascent soul was also destroyed by Zhuowen. He didn't survive at all. Zhua, Xiao Yanba roared. His eyes were red, and he arrived above Zhuowen in an instant. He blasted out his right palm, and the icy cold origin energy turned into an ice mountain, crushing down on Zhuowen. Zhuowen turned around and stood quietly. He looked up at the ice mountain that was getting closer and closer, and the corner of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared in front of Zhuowen. A tyrannical force gushed out, and the terrifying ice mountain was instantly shattered into countless ice shards. The figure that stood in front of Zhuowen wasn't very old. He was about 25 years old, and his face was quite handsome. His eyebrows were pale white. It was Heavenly Master Whitebrow, who had reconstructed his body. Xiao Yanba floated in the air, looking down at Zhuowen and Heavenly Master Whitebrow. He frowned slightly. He actually felt a faint sense of threat from Heavenly Master Whitebrow. Xiao Yanba stared at the white-browed Heavenly Exalt and muttered in a low voice, was I mistaken? However, Xiao Yanba's arrival caused an uproar among the onlookers in Yan City. No one had expected that the ancestor of the Xiao Yan family, Xiao Yanba, who had not shown himself for a long time, would actually appear. It was said that Xiao Yanba's cultivation had reached the early stage of Golden Exalt many years ago. Now, it was impossible for his cultivation to remain the same. He might have reached an even higher level. Even though Xiao Yanba's cultivation had stagnated for many years, his Golden Exalt cultivation alone was enough to make him one of the top experts in Yan City. After all, there were very few Heavenly Exalts in Yan City, and all of them were in the 5 superpowers. The other superpowers didn't have any Heavenly Exalts at all. Therefore, there were very few people below the 5 great powers who dared to offend an existence like Xiao Yanba. When they thought of this, many people looked at Zhuowen with pity. This lad was really unlucky. He had actually killed Xiaoyan Zhua in front of Xiaoyan Ba. This lad's fate would be very miserable. Zhuowen is done for. He actually provoked someone like Xiaoyan Ba. Even if he doesn't die, he'll still die, Leng Ying said sarcastically in the Ruan family's martial arts arena. Ruan Xianfeng frowned slightly. He hadn't expected that the Xiaoyan family would actually call out their ancestor. They had actually attached so much importance to Zhuowen. At this moment, Zhuowen was standing on the roof of a tiled house with his back straight. The white-browed heavenly exalt was standing obediently beside him like a servant. Is your Xiaoyan family that great? It was your Xiaoyan family, Xiaoyan Pu, who provoked me first. The reason why things have developed to this point is that your Xiaoyan family thinks too highly of yourselves. That's why you've ended up like this. A mere late-stage golden exalt martialist. If you don't want the Xiaoyan family to be destroyed, I advise you to scram. Zhuowen's indifferent voice slowly resounded, causing an uproar to erupt. That was a little too arrogant. Xiaoyan Ba was the ancestor of the Xiaoyan family. He had an important position in the Xiaoyan family. Now, a lad who still smelled of his mother's milk was asking Xiaoyan Ba to scram. That was a little too arrogant. Therefore, when Zhuowen said those words, the first thought that came to everyone's mind was that this person was crazy. The second thought was that this lad was simply courting death. In Yen City, no one has ever dared to speak to me like that. You're courting death, Xiaoyan Ba said coldly with a chilling gaze. Courting death? You'll know if I'm courting death later. White-browed, kill this noisy person. With a faint smile, Zhuowen instructed white-browed heavenly master beside him. Then, he began to collect Xiaoyan Zuo's corpse. After all, Xiaoyan Zuo was the family head of the Xiaoyan family. He had a spiritual ring, so there must be a lot of good things in it. Many martialists rolled their eyes when they saw Zhuowen leisurely collecting Xiaoyan Zuo's corpse. However, no one dared to step forward to stop him. The powerful strength that Zhuowen had just displayed was still vivid in their minds. Besides Xiaoyan Zuo, Zhuowen naturally did not let go of Mo Ying, who had lost all 4 of his limbs and was already half dead. You're very confident. Do you think that this lad is a match for me? Xiaoyan Ba frowned slightly and snorted coldly. Oh. Are you questioning my master's judgment? You're just a mere golden exalt martialist. In my eyes, you're just an ant. How dare you think that I'm not a match for you? White-browed heavenly master suddenly smiled. A heavenly aura gushed out. With him as the epicenter, a terrifying gale swept out, and the surrounding space faintly showed signs of collapsing. Heavenly. Heavenly exalt. Xiaoyan Ba's face stiffened as if he had seen a ghost. What's going on? Why does Zhuowen have a heavenly exalt martialist by his side? Moreover, white-browed heavenly master addressed Zhuowen as master. Is this heavenly exalt martialist actually this young man's servant? At this moment, Xiaoyan Ba was in a mess. He was actually stunned in midair. Not only Xiaoyan Ba, but many other martialists in Yen City were also stunned. Some of them even had their mouths wide open. The shock in their eyes was even more intense than Xiaoyan Ba's. A heavenly exalt martialist was an overlord in Yen City. It was a supreme existence, and it was also a terrifying existence that was comparable to a sect master. However, such a terrifying existence was actually just a servant of a sovereign martialist. Now, even a fool would know that this young man named Zhuowen had a powerful background. It was so powerful that it made everyone feel suffocated. If even his servant was a heavenly venerable realm powerhouse, then how terrifying was the power behind Zhuowen? It was already unimaginable to them. At this moment, the pity in everyone's eyes when they looked at Zhuowen had already vanished. Instead, it was replaced by deep fear and reverence. Many people even started to look at Xiaoyan Ba, who had an ugly expression on his face, with ridicule. Not to mention the power behind this mysterious Zhuowen, just white-browed heavenly master alone was enough to make Xiao Yanba suffer. Young Master Zhuowen. I'm afraid this is a misunderstanding. Are you from the Eastern Land's 9 Netherworld realm? This old man's eyes were blurred and he didn't recognize your identity. I'm really sorry. Xiao Yanba's attitude suddenly took a 360-degree turn as he cupped his hands and smiled at Zhuowen. Xiao Yanba's change in attitude obviously shocked everyone. Who was the one who had said that he wanted to kill Zhuowen? Now that Zhuowen's servant had displayed the strength of a heavenly exalt, Xiao Yanba immediately forced a smile. He was really snobbish. Eastern Land's 9 Netherworld realm. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes when he heard Xiao Yanba's words. He knew that the 9 Netherworld realm should be the core area of the Eastern Lands. However, he had never heard of it before. It was obvious that only the upper echelons of some major powers knew about it. Moreover, the 9 Netherworld realm was probably filled with experts. Otherwise, Xiao Yanba would have immediately linked his origin to the so-called 9 Netherworld realm after seeing that he had a heavenly exalt as a servant. Thinking of this, Zhuowen didn't think too much about the 9 Netherworld realm. He had Xiang Tianzuan and a few other heavenly exalts in his spirit ring. They were all top experts of the Qing Xian Empire and would definitely know about the 9 Netherworld realm. He could ask them when the time came. Misunderstanding? I don't think so. White-browed, kill this noisy guy. Zhuowen ordered lightly. White-browed heavenly master laughed sinisterly and rushed toward Xiao Yanba. The power of a heavenly exalt was fully displayed. Whoosh! Xiao Yanba cursed in his heart. He didn't dare to fight and directly ran away. The difference between a heavenly exalt and a golden exalt was huge. Even if Xiao Yanba's cultivation had reached the peak of the golden exalt realm, he was probably no match for an initial heavenly exalt. Only a monstrous genius could challenge someone of a higher realm. Of course, Xiao Yanba wasn't such a monstrous genius. He was just a very ordinary golden exalt. If he encountered a heavenly exalt, he would be killed instantly. Do you think you can escape? White-browed heavenly master snorted coldly. He leaped and instantly blocked Xiao Yanba's path. Without saying a word, he struck out with his palm and mercilessly attacked Xiao Yanba. Xiao Yanba wasn't strong. He only lasted for a quarter of an hour before being killed by white-browed heavenly master. His physical body collapsed, and even his nascent soul wasn't spared. Dead. The ancestor of the Xiaoyan family, Xiao Yanba, is dead. The moment Xiao Yanba died under white-browed heavenly master's palm, all the spectating Yan City warriors were shocked. Everyone knew that the Xiaoyan family was completely finished. From young to old, the Xiaoyan family was almost completely massacred by Zhuowen. Moreover, some of the elite experts were also killed by Zhuowen. The rest were just small fries. There was no doubt that the Xiaoyan family would be completely devoured by the competing forces in the following period of time. After all, the high-ranking warriors were all dead. Even the strongest ancestor, Xiao Yanba, had fallen. The Xiaoyan family's destruction was inevitable. Many warriors sighed. The Xiaoyan family was one of the 4 strongest families in Yan City. However, it was destroyed because they offended a young man that they shouldn't have offended. Whoosh! White-browed heavenly master returned. At the same time, he brought Xiao Yanba's spirit ring and respectfully handed it to Zhuowen. Let's leave this place first. Demon Daoist and Qing Su will be here soon. These two aren't easy to deal with. Chapter 930. 9 Nether Realm. Not long after Zhuowen and the White-Brow Heavenly Sovereign left, a figure appeared in the sky with Zui Qingfeng. This person's hair and beard were all white, and he wore a long green and white robe. His face was dignified and dignified. Clear Void Valley's sect master, Qing Shuzi. I didn't expect such a person to come. Some sharp-eyed people below Yen City quickly recognized this white-haired old man. Xiaoyan Ba from the Xiaoyan family is also dead. Could it be that Zhuowen killed him? Qing Shuzi's gaze quickly fell on Xiaoyan Ba's corpse as he muttered with a frown. Sect Master. Xiaoyan Ba wasn't killed by Zhuowen, but by a heavenly sovereign servant by his side, Zoe Qingfeng, who was standing behind Qing Shuzi, suddenly said respectfully. Qing Shuzi's eyes narrowed as he replied with some surprise, "What did you say?" "That Zhuowen has a heavenly sovereign servant." "A heavenly sovereign expert?" Zoe Qingfeng nodded. "He used the leaf to teleport nearly 1,000 miles away, but he didn't leave completely. Instead, he silently observed Zhuowen from afar. Naturally, he saw the scene of Xiaoyan Ba's death." "Sect Master. This Zhuowen's identity isn't ordinary. I'm afraid he's from the Nine Nether Realm. Should we continue to investigate this kid?" Zoe Qingfeng asked with some hesitation. After witnessing Zhuowen's terrifying strength and the white-brow heavenly sovereign beside him, Zoe Qingfeng really didn't want to make an enemy out of Zhuowen. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. He was truly afraid of that Zhuowen. Someone from the Nine Nether Realm? I don't think that's possible. The Nine Nether Realm is the core of the Eastern Lands. That's the real world of the Eastern Lands. Why would anyone be willing to come to such a remote place like our Yanxian Empire? Didn't you say it before? That Zhuowen has a heavenly sovereign nascent soul. From the looks of it, this kid has a secret technique that allowed him to restore the physical body of a heavenly sovereign nascent soul. The price should be for the heavenly sovereign nascent soul to recognize him as its master. Qing Shuzi's eyes flashed with wisdom. He pointed out the crux of the matter with just one sentence. Zoe Qingfeng felt that it made sense. What kind of place was the Nine Nether Realm? The martial artists there disdained to come to this remote corner. Whoosh! Suddenly, an endless amount of black fog surged over from the sky. Immediately, the black fog descended, forming an inverted funnel shape. Finally, a proud figure with black hair and black eyes appeared. Qing Shuzi. What about Zhuowen? The figure arrived in front of Qing Su and questioned him rudely. Humph. That little bastard got away. Qing Su coldly snorted and asked Zoe Qingfeng to repeat what had just happened. Demon Daoist's face gradually darkened. You said that Mo Ying's limbs were cut off by Zhuowen. Demon Daoist coldly snorted. His gaze quickly locked onto a deep pit below. Inside the pit, Mo Ying's aura was dispirited. His limbs were broken, and he had fallen into a state of delirium. Demon Daoist came to Mo Ying's side and pointed his sword finger at the center of his forehead. A surge of origin energy surged into Mo Ying's body, causing the originally delirious Mo Ying to regain his consciousness. Even his dantian was crippled. During the process of injecting origin energy, Demon Daoist quickly discovered that Mo Ying's dantian had become extremely shriveled. It was obvious that he was completely crippled. At this moment, Demon Daoist's face was extremely ugly. If Mo Ying's limbs were only broken, he might have a way to restore them. But with his dantian crippled, even he was helpless. Palace Master. You must avenge me. That Zhuowen destroyed me and turned me into a complete cripple. You must avenge me. Mo Ying's face was ferocious as he roared. Demon Daoist took a deep breath. The coldness in his eyes became even more intense. He indifferently said, "Don't worry. I won't let that Zhuowen go. Mo Ying, you're already a cripple now. Living is also painful. Why don't I send you on your way?" After speaking, Demon Daoist pressed his right hand on Mo Ying's forehead. A surge of origin energy invaded Mo Ying's mind. Mo Ying struggled a few times before completely losing his breath. Looking at Demon Daoist's actions, Qing Su and Zoe Qingfeng both felt a chill. Demon Daoist's style of doing things was becoming more and more like a devil. Just because Mo Ying became a cripple, he didn't hesitate to kill him. Yen City is so big now. Finding a person is like finding a needle in a haystack. Demon Daoist arrived in front of Qing Su and indifferently said. Qing Su faintly smiled and said, "You don't need to worry about that. My Qing Su Valley has a lot of disciples and most of the businesses in Yen City are bought by my Qing Su Valley disciples. As long as I make an announcement in the valley and mobilize all the disciples in Yen City, that Zhuowen won't be able to escape. Unless he doesn't stay in the inn. Among the 5 superpowers, your Qing Su Valley has the most disciples. You're really recruiting just about anyone. This is also your Qing Su Valley's style." Demon Daoist's gaze was somewhat disdainful. Among the 5 superpowers, the Qing Su Valley has the lowest requirement to recruit disciples. Therefore, they have the most disciples in the valley. Moreover, in order to expand their influence, the Qing Su Valley recruited many nominal disciples. These nominal disciples didn't have the qualifications to enter the Qing Su Valley. They only had the Qing Su Valley's name. In Yen City, the Qing Su Valley had a lot of nominal disciples. Moreover, many of them bought businesses and did business in Yen City. Because of the Qing Su Valley's name, the businesses of these nominal disciples were extremely prosperous. It was because of the existence of these nominal disciples that the Qing Su Valley was the most well-informed among the 5 superpowers. Even the most powerful royal family couldn't compare to the Qing Su Valley in terms of information. Then hurry up and spread the news. If that Zhuowen leaves Yen City because of a misunderstanding, then it'll really be difficult for us to find him. Demon Daoist nodded his head and said in agreement. Qing Su and Demon Daoist chatted for a while before leaving this place, leaving behind many speculations and discussions of Yen City's martial artists. The main character of their discussion was naturally Zhuowen, who had just displayed his invincible might. The main character of this incident, Zhuowen, had already quietly returned to the inn he was staying at. After discovering that there was no one following him outside the inn, Zhuowen locked the door and asked the White Brow Heavenly Sovereign, "White Brow, do you know about the 9 Netherworld realm?" The White Brow Heavenly Sovereign wasn't surprised by Zhuowen's question. After all, Xiaoyanba had already mentioned it before. It would be strange if Zhuowen didn't ask. "I've heard of the 9 Netherworld realm. However, I don't know much about it. Zhang Tianzuan knows more about it than I do," the White Brow Heavenly Sovereign calmly said. Upon hearing this, Zhuowen flicked his finger and a ball of light appeared in the room. Within the ball of light was naturally Zhang Tianzuan's nascent soul. "Greetings, Master." Zhang Tianzuan respectfully cupped his hands towards Zhuowen. Soon after, his gaze landed on the White Brow Heavenly Sovereign beside Zhuowen as he asked somewhat uncertainly, "Your White Brow?" The White Brow Heavenly Sovereign smiled and said, "Master and Master Long have successfully helped me reconstruct my physical body. Congratulations." Zhang Tianzuan somewhat enviously stared at the White Brow Heavenly Sovereign. He somewhat believed Zhuowen's promise to reconstruct his physical body. "You don't have to be envious. Once I gather enough materials, I'll get Xiao He to help you reconstruct your physical body." Zhuowen naturally saw the envy on Zhang Tianzuan's face and chuckled. "Thank you, Master." Zhang Tianzuan hurriedly bowed and continued, "I wonder why Master has summoned me." Zhuowen lightly knocked on the armrest with his right hand and said indifferently, "You should know about the 9 Netherworld realm, right? Can you tell me about the 9 Netherworld realm? Also, how did Emperor Qing plan to bring the 5 spots to the God Academy?" Zhang Tianzuan was startled at first, but then he remembered that Zhuowen came from a lowly family, so it was understandable that he didn't know about this. Following Zhang Tianzuan's narration, Zhuowen's eyes narrowed slightly, and he had a deeper understanding of the 9 Netherworld realm. The 9th Netherworld realm was the core area of the Eastern lands. It was said that it occupied 1/3 of the eastern lands, while the remaining 2/3 were scattered with scattered forces. For example, the Qing Xian Empire and the Yan Xian Empire were members of these scattered forces. As the core area of the eastern lands, the Nine Netherworld realm was filled with experts and forces. It was unknown how much more prosperous it was compared to other regions. It was said that there were saint experts in the Nine Netherworld realm. The Nine Netherworld realm, as its name implied, was divided into 9 regions. Each region had countless forces, and emperor-level experts could be seen everywhere. It could be said that an ordinary cultivator in the Nine Netherworld realm would be a top expert in the Qing Xian Empire. This was the difference between them. The 9 regions naturally had their own names. They were the Dragon Netherworld realm, the Divine Netherworld realm, the Martial Netherworld realm, the Flower Netherworld realm, the Desolate Netherworld realm, the Death Netherworld realm, the Killing Netherworld realm, the Demon Netherworld realm, and the Night Netherworld realm. These 9 regions were called the Nine Netherworld realm. It is said that the reason why the Nine Netherworld realm is divided like this is mainly because there is a saint in each region. The 9 Netherworld realms are also named after the saints in the Netherworld realm. At this point, Emperor Zi Yang hesitated for a moment before continuing. The Dragon Serene realm is the territory of the Azure Dragon Main Hall, and the Main Hall's Hall Master, Long Sheng, is a renowned saint and extremely powerful. The Azure Dragon Main Hall is in the Dragon Netherworld realm? Hearing this, Zhuowen's pupils shrank. It seemed that the Dragon Netherworld realm was not a good place for him. He was a descendant of the Ryuka, and was the mortal enemy of the Blue Dragon Hall. In addition, Xiao Hei's character was not low. If the people of the Dragon Netherworld realm found out about his identity, he would definitely be hunted down and killed. Since the Blue Dragon Hall is in the Nine Netherworld realm, does that mean the Fine Gods Academy is also in there? Zhuowen asked again. Zhang Tianzuan nodded and said, the Fine Gods Academy is divided into the outer courtyard and the inner courtyard. The outer courtyard is not in the Nine Netherworld realm, but the mysterious inner courtyard is in the Divine Netherworld realm. It is said that the Dean of the inner courtyard is also a powerful saint, and is famous throughout the Nine Netherworld realm. Outer courtyard and inner courtyard? Zhuowen muttered in a low voice. He had heard about the outer courtyard from Moyan Wushang. Moyan Wushang's identity was not ordinary, and seemed to have some relationship with the upper echelons of the outer courtyard. The outer courtyard that Moyan Wushang mentioned should be the outer courtyard of the Fine Gods Academy. In other words, the entrance exam this time is to enter the outer courtyard of the Fine Gods Academy? Zhuowen asked seriously. Chapter 931. Replace, then how does the Qing Xian Empire send the geniuses participating in the entrance exam to the outer court of the Jiaoshan Academy? Zhuowen asked curiously. Master, there are actually many forces outside the Nine Netherworld realm that cooperate with the outer court of the Jiaoshan Academy. For example, the Qing Xian Empire has a teleportation array that leads to the vicinity of the outer court. Furthermore, only the Qing Emperor of the Qing Xian Empire knows how to activate the teleportation array. Therefore, only the Emperor of the Empire has the means to bring you to the outer court. In fact, it's the same in the Yan Xian Empire. If you want to go to the outer court, you can only ask the Flame Emperor to bring you there, Zhang Tianzuan said respectfully. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and muttered, this matter is indeed related to the Flame Emperor. However, I'm not from the Yan Xian Empire. I'm afraid the Flame Emperor won't bring me to the outer court, right? Kid. Actually, there's a way that can allow you to easily obtain a slot to the outer court. Xiao Hei appeared in Zhuowen's sea of consciousness and floated in front of Zhuowen with her hands on her hips. Greetings, Master Long. When Xiao Hei appeared, Zhang Tianzuan and the White-Brow Heavenly Master both revealed flattering smiles and fawning expressions. Back when they were in the spirit ring, they had been taught a lesson by Xiao Hei. Now that they saw Xiao Hei, they were like mice that had seen a cat. What method? Zhuowen asked. Xiao Hei's eyes flickered and said, didn't you cripple the demon shadow? Moreover, the demon shadow is one of the 5 people participating in the entrance exam from the Yan Xian Empire. You mean you want me to replace the demon shadow? Zhuowen's eyes brightened as he asked. Yes. You can cooperate with the demon Dao and ask him to give the demon shadow slot to you, Xiao He said with a mischievous smile. However, Zhuowen shook his head and said, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. The demon shadow was crippled by me. The demon Dao probably hates me to the core. Why would he give the demon shadow slot to me? Brat. If you currently have the protection of 5 heavenly sovereigns, apart from the Flame Emperor, who would dare to offend you in Yen City? Even Master Demon would have to yield, Xiao He said indifferently. Zhuowen nodded. However, if he wanted to completely reconstruct the bodies of the other 4 Empyreans, he would need an enormous amount of materials. With Zhuowen's current wealth, it would be difficult to accomplish. Thinking of this, Zhuowen took out a few spirit rings from his bosom. These spirit rings were taken from Xiaoyan Zhua, Moing, and Xiaoyan Ba. Moreover, he had already checked the contents of these 3 spirit rings. Although there were many spirit stones inside, according to his estimation, they were only enough to reconstruct another body. Xiaoyan Ba is the ancestor of the Xiaoyan family. I'm afraid that he controls most of the Xiaoyan family's assets. Little brat, take a look inside Xiaoyan Ba's spirit ring and see if there's anything like a key. Xiao He suddenly suggested. Nodding his head, Zhuowen carefully rummaged through Xiaoyan Ba's spirit ring. Soon, he noticed that in the corner of the spirit ring, there was a rusty iron key. Could it be this key? Looking at the rusty iron key in his palm, Zhuowen's mouth twitched as he muttered to himself. It's possible. You can try going to the Xiaoyan family. Xiao He chuckled. Then I'll go and try. With a soft sigh, Zhuowen put away the metal key, opened the door, and quietly left the inn. The white-brow Empyrean was left behind by Zhuowen in the inn. After all, if the 2 of them entered the Xiaoyan family together, they would be too big of a target. It would not be beneficial for Zhuowen to infiltrate. As night slowly descended, the Xiaoyan family in Yen City was currently in a state of chaos. News of Xiaoyan Ba and Xiaoyan Zua's deaths had already spread throughout Yen City. Naturally, the Xiaoyan family had also heard about it. Xiaoyan Zua was the patriarch of the Xiaoyan family, and Xiaoyan Ba was the ancestor of the Xiaoyan family. The 2 of them were the core figures of the Xiaoyan family and also the highest leaders. However, these 2 important figures had actually died at the same time. Furthermore, Xiaoyan Qinglin and Xiaoyan Pu, the 2 geniuses of the Xiaoyan family, had also died. In an instant, the originally prosperous Xiaoyan family began to fall into chaos. The guards that were originally patrolling the Xiaoyan family also stopped patrolling. Everyone in the Xiaoyan family was in a state of panic. Right now, the Xiaoyan family was like a fishing net full of holes. Zhuowen did not have to spend much effort to enter the Xiaoyan family. After capturing a few guards and interrogating them about the location of Xiaoyan Ba's loft, Zhuowen arrived in front of a luxurious building without any obstructions. Xiaoyan Ba's loft was more like a palace than a loft. There were pavilions, terraces, and pavilions everywhere. It occupied a very large area. Guards and maids were everywhere in the corridors between the pavilions. However, the guards and maids inside seemed to be in a state of panic. They had all heard rumors about Xiaoyan Ba. They really could not imagine that such a terrifying person like Xiaoyan Ba would actually die. This matter had a huge impact on the Xiaoyan family. Who is it? A loud shout was heard. One of the guards in the corridor discovered Zhuowen's figure and pointed his spear at Zhuowen. His eyes were filled with vigilance. Zhuowen no longer concealed his figure. He waved his right hand and a terrifying astral wind swept out. The guard was caught off guard and was sent flying. He crashed into a pillar and spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with fear. The young man in front of him was terrifying. With just a wave of his hand, he was sent flying. He knew that this young man was not someone he could contend against. Whoosh! Zhuowen lifted the guard up and coldly said, "Take me to Xiaoyan-Ba's loft or die." "Sir, please spare me. This lowly one will take you there." "I only beg you not to kill me," the guard said while trembling. "As long as you take me there, I won't kill you," Zhuowen said indifferently. The guard was submissive and did not dare to disobey Zhuowen. He led Zhuowen to Xiaoyan-Ba's loft. Along the way, they encountered other guards, but they were unable to stop Zhuowen. Many of them were even killed by Zhuowen. The guard who led the way for Zhuowen became more and more shocked. He had a new understanding of the strength of the young man behind him. He no longer dared to reveal some of the thoughts in his heart. Instead, he calmly led the way for Zhuowen. Xiaoyan-Ba's loft was located at the highest point of the palace-like building. After the guard led Zhuowen there, he said with a trembling voice, "Sir, this is the patriarch's loft. Do you think I am the one?" "Scram!" Zhuowen said indifferently. The guard felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders, and he hurriedly left the place in a dejected manner. I wonder if Xiaoyan-Ba placed the Xiaoyan family's wealth in his loft. As he spoke, Zhuowen stepped into the loft. He had to admit that Xiaoyan-Ba really knew how to enjoy life. The loft was extremely luxurious, much more so than the palaces in his previous life. The loft was filled with thick stone pillars that were inlaid with dazzling luminous pearls. As he went deeper into the loft, a few coquettish laughter suddenly entered Zhuowen's ears. "There are women." Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and looked ahead. There were layers of gauze covering the area. With Zhuowen's eyesight, he could naturally see that behind the gauze was an enormous round bed. On the bed, there were 3 young women with voluptuous figures, covered by gauze. They were frolicking inside. This Xiaoyan-Ba really knows how to enjoy life. With a cold smile, Zhuowen walked straight to the bed in front of him. With a wave of his right hand, the gauze in front of him shattered, revealing the bed. "Patriarch! You're so naughty. Why did you only come back now?" The 3 young women laughed coquettishly. Naturally, they also noticed the abnormality of the gauze. Their crisp voices, like those of orioles, were extremely charming. However, when the 3 young women saw that the one who appeared in front of them was not Xiaoyan-Ba, but a young man with cold eyes, they were first startled, then they all fell silent. "Who are you?" Among the 3 young women, the one with the most revealing clothes, the oldest one pointed at Zhuowen and shouted, "Tell me where Xiaoyan-Ba's personal storage is." The 3 young women in front of him were good-looking and had enchanting figures. Now that they were wearing revealing clothes, if an ordinary man saw this scene, his blood would rush to his head. Although Zhuowen felt a little strange, his eyes were still cold. He was not moved by the 3 young women. Zhuowen knew that these 3 young women were Xiaoyan-Ba's concubines, so they must know a lot about Xiaoyan-Ba's private matters. "You dare to trespass into the patriarch's loft? Are you looking for death? If the patriarch comes back, you'll definitely die," the young woman said coldly. Zhuowen laughed and said, "Xiaoyan-Ba is already dead. How can he settle the score with me? Now, I'll give you 3 a chance. If you tell me where Xiaoyan-Ba's personal storage is, I'll spare your lives and set you free. Otherwise, you'll die." At this point, a substantial killing intent emitted from Zhuowen's eyes, causing the 3 young women to tremble and turn pale. "The patriarch is dead?" The 3 young women cried out in alarm and trembled. "I'll count to 3. If you don't tell me, then all of you will die," Zhuowen said coldly. The oldest young woman gritted her teeth and said, "I'll take you there, but I beg you not to kill us." The 3 young women were only ordinary martial artists. They had only obtained Xiaoyan-Ba's favor because of their outstanding looks, so they had no power to resist Zhuowen's threat. "Take me there." Zhuowen nodded and said. Then you come with me. The young woman got up and led Zhuowen to the other side of the loft. Zhuowen slowly followed behind the young woman. Whether it was intentional or not, the young woman standing in front of him did not wear a coat. She was still wearing a thin gauze dress. Her snow-white skin was faintly discernible under the gauze, which had a different kind of seduction. Zhuowen didn't care about this woman's actions or intentions. Instead, he silently followed behind her without making a sound. We're here. There's a secret door behind this hidden compartment. If you want to go in, you must have the patriarch's key. Otherwise, you can't go in at all. Chapter 932. Plunder. Zhuowen nodded. With a flick of his finger, he took out the rusty key from his spirit ring and inserted it into the lock. With a slight twist, the sound of gears rotating could be heard, and the secret door in front of him was completely opened. The woman looked at the key in Zhuowen's hand, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. This key was the key to Xiao Yanba's warehouse. This key had always been kept by Xiao Yanba. Even as Xiao Yanba's beloved concubine, she only had the chance to see it once in a while. But now, this extremely important key had appeared in the hands of this young man in front of her. It was obvious that Xiao Yanba was most likely dead. Thinking of this, the woman treated Zhuowen with even more respect. After all, the person in front of her could be the powerful existence that killed Xiao Yanba. She didn't dare to offend him. Xiao Yanba is dead. You and your two sisters are free now. You can leave the Xiao Yan family on your own. Also, don't talk about this place. Otherwise, I won't show you any mercy. Zhuowen said to the woman beside him and entered the secret door. In fact, with Zhuowen's current strength, he wasn't afraid of other people from the Xiao Yan family breaking in. This sentence was only a warning. Moreover, Zhuowen didn't want to cause any more trouble. Looking at Zhuowen's indifferent departure, the woman's beautiful eyes dimmed. Looking at her hot clothes and Zhuowen's cold attitude, she began to doubt her own charm. This was a large warehouse. In the warehouse, there were actually piles of crystal clear spiritual stones. The entire warehouse was filled with spiritual energy. Other than spiritual stones, there were many spiritual treasures in the warehouse. However, most of these spiritual treasures were earth-rank spiritual treasures. There were only a few heaven-rank spiritual treasures. This Xiao Yan family's foundation is pretty good. They actually have so many spirit stones. There are even high-grade spirit stones among them. Blackie appeared on Zhuowen's shoulder. Its small eyes rolled as it spoke. This time, I'm rich. Zhuowen's eyes lit up. With a wave of his right hand, he collected all the spirit stones in the warehouse into his spirit ring. After about half an incense stick's worth of time, Zhuowen had basically moved all the spirit stones in this huge warehouse. What was worth noting was that Zhuowen's spirit ring was actually unable to store all the spirit stones in the warehouse, so he had to use Xiao Yanba's spirit ring. 2 spirit rings were barely able to store all the spirit stones in the warehouse, and the number of spirit stones was extremely shocking. Even Zhuowen was a little surprised. 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, 1 million mid-grade spirit stones, and 5 million low-grade spirit stones. Good heavens, the inventory is actually so abundant. After checking the number of spirit stones in the spirit ring, Zhuowen and Xiao He were stunned for a moment. Soon after, ecstasy appeared on their faces. Brat! Other than the spirit stones, don't let go of the spirit treasures in here. Although these spirit treasures are not of a high grade, if you don't use them, you can leave them for your Zhuo family's disciples. Even if they are not of a high grade, you can still sell them for spirit stones. Xiao He pointed at the various spirit treasures placed around the warehouse with a sly smile on his face. Zhuowen nodded. After experiencing several crises in the Zhuo family, Zhuowen also planned to develop the Zhuo family. When the Zhuo family had reached a certain level of strength, he would change Zhuowen into a Ryuka, and recreate the glory of the Ryuka from 10,000 years ago. However, Zhuowen also knew that if he wanted to develop the Zhuo family into a powerful force in the eastern land, it was not something that could be done overnight. This road had to be walked step by step. Thinking of this, Zhuowen worked even harder to collect the remaining spiritual treasures, spiritual herbs, and other resources in the warehouse. Zhuowen put them all into the spiritual ring. In just a moment, the 3 spiritual rings were filled. After he was done, Zhuowen left Xiaoyan Ba's palace in satisfaction. However, just as he stepped out of the palace, Zhuowen keenly sensed that there were many figures with powerful auras surrounding the Xiaoyan clan. These figures were faintly divided into 3 groups. They were wary of each other and entered the Xiaoyan clan from 3 different directions. Ah! Immediately, shrill screams rang out from the Xiaoyan clan. Then, flames rose around the Xiaoyan clan. Someone was actually setting a fire in the night. Whoosh! Whoosh! Figures with powerful auras surged in the night sky and entered the Xiaoyan family like ghosts. Every time they flickered, they would take away a warrior of the Xiaoyan family. The Xiaoyan family, which was originally in a state of panic because of the death of Xiaoyan Ba and Xiaoyan Zhua, was now in complete chaos. The members of the Xiaoyan family did not expect that at this critical juncture, someone would take the opportunity to invade their family. A total of 3 forces entered the Xiaoyan family. I'm afraid that these 3 forces should be the other 3 major families in Yan City. The Xiaoyan family is finished. I'm afraid that this time, they will be completely annihilated. Xiao He gloated. Zhuowen shrugged. Yan City was not a good place to begin with. Moreover, the 4 major families were in a competitive relationship. Once one of them declined, the other 3 families would definitely join forces to suppress it. Now that the Xiaoyan family had offended Zhuowen, not only were all the high-ranking warriors of the family killed, but even key figures like the family head and ancestor were also killed. It was impossible for the other 3 families to not take action. If Xiaoyan Ba had not died, the other 3 families would not have taken action so easily. Unfortunately, Xiaoyan Ba was dead. Therefore, the other 3 families naturally did not have any scruples. Thinking of this, Zhuowen shook his head. There was no pity in his heart. After all of this was the Xiaoyan family's own fault. Now that they were annihilated, it was retribution. Swoosh! Swoosh! Just as Zhuowen was about to leave, more than a dozen figures surrounded Zhuowen. Numerous pairs of sharp eyes stared fixedly at Zhuowen. In front of these dozen figures, a young man with a refined smile on his lips stared indifferently at Zhuowen. This young man was no stranger to Zhuowen. It was actually Wu Zongxing of the Wu clan who had bought the star's sword from his stall when he had set up a stall in Yan City. However, Zhuowen had set up the stall in disguise. Therefore, Wu Zongxing did not recognize Zhuowen. Brother, I'm sorry. Where do you want to go? Wu Zongxing said with a faint smile. Zhuowen's lips curled up. He spread out his hands and said, Brother Wu. I am not from the Xiaoyan family. If it is convenient, let me go. I don't want to hurt the relationship between the Wu clan and me. Wu Zongxing raised his eyebrows. He was somewhat surprised by the attitude of this young man in front of him. He was surrounded by more than a dozen people and could still be so calm. This young man was not ordinary. Brother, you are very confident. Our strength is not ordinary. Brother, do you think you can escape from us? Wu Zongxing said in a somewhat mocking tone. Escape? Zhuowen shook his head and continued, I am afraid that I will accidentally kill all of them. At that time, I am afraid that Brother Wu will lose face. Wu Zongxing's face stiffened. He stared sharply at Zhuowen. This young man in front of him was very arrogant. He actually dared to say such big words. What an arrogant person. You actually dare to say that you will kill all of us. I think that you really don't know how the word death is written. A burly man coldly snorted. He was so angry that his hair stood on end. His temper was irritable. He actually took the initiative to send a palm strike towards Zhuowen. He wanted to completely kill the latter. Wu Zongxing did not stop him. This burly man was an expert from the Wu clan. His cultivation was at the ultimate ninth will emperor stage and he was quite famous in Yan City. Wu Zongxing was also somewhat displeased by the arrogant words of the young man in front of him. Therefore, he did not stop the burly man. Zhuowen coldly smiled. His right hand made a grabbing motion in the air. The burly man was shocked to discover that his attack had collapsed. What was even more shocking was that a strange suction force came from below, causing him to involuntarily fall down. With a stomp of his foot, Zhuowen's right hand grabbed the burly man's arm. With a casual squeeze, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. The burly man's right arm was instantly dislocated. Zhuowen then flung his right hand, causing the burly man to fall flat on his face. With a foot on the burly man's body, Zhuowen indifferently said to Wu Zongxing, "This is my warning. If you still dare to obstruct or provoke me, I will kill you." As the word "kill" was uttered, an extremely terrifying aura gushed out from Zhuowen's body. The ground beneath his feet instantly crumbled and debris floated up. A monstrous killing intent leaked out from Zhuowen's eyes, causing Wu Zongxing and the others to feel a chill in their hearts. This young man in front of them was definitely not joking. If they really dared to act recklessly, this person would definitely not be merciful. Moreover, he had the strength to do so. "Brother, this is just a misunderstanding. Since you are not a member of the Shaoyan family, then brother, please feel free to leave. We will not stop you." Wu Zongxing smiled politely. Zhuowen gave Wu Zongxing a deep look. With a stomp of his foot, 3 pairs of lightning wings grew out from his back. He turned into a bolt of lightning and brushed past Wu Zongxing, instantly disappearing into the horizon. This person is not old, but his strength is actually so terrifying. I'm afraid that his cultivation is at least in the Xuanzuan realm. As soon as Zhuowen left, the more than 10 people behind Wu Zongxing all let out a light sigh of relief. Each of their faces revealed a look of shock. As for the burly man who was stepped on by Zhuowen, he returned to the group with an ashamed look on his face. He did not dare to speak anymore. Just now, he had lost all his face. How could he still have the face to speak? 3 pairs of lightning wings. I heard that in the sky above the Ruan family, Shaoyan Qinglin and Shaoyan Zhua of the Shaoyan family were killed by a young man named Zhuowen. Moreover, it is said that Zhuowen also possesses a secret technique that can give birth to 3 pairs of lightning wings. Wu Zongxing's eyes flickered. He deeply looked at the back of Zhuowen as he muttered in a low voice. His voice was not loud, but the more than 10 people around him heard it clearly. Instantly, the atmosphere between them became extremely quiet. Gulp. The sound of swallowing saliva slowly rang out. The one who made this sound was the burly man who had provoked Zhuowen earlier. They were not unfamiliar with the name Zhuowen. The number 1 genius of the Shaoyan family, Shaoyan Qinglin, and the head of the family, Shaoyan Zhua, had both died at the hands of Zhuowen. Moreover, the ancestor of the Shaoyan family, Shaoyan Ba, had also died because of Zhuowen. This was because Zhuowen had a terrifyingly powerful heavenly sovereign expert by his side. It was said that this heavenly sovereign expert was also Zhuowen's servant. Chapter 933. 5 Great Heavenly Sovereign Slaves. The next day, a major piece of news spread throughout Yan City. This news was related to the Shaoyan aristocratic family. It was said that the Shaoyan aristocratic family had been completely annihilated last night and their mansion had basically been plundered. This news was extremely sensational in Yan City. Regardless of whether it was the streets or the taverns, most of the practitioners were discussing this news regarding the annihilation of the Shaoyan aristocratic family. Most of their faces were filled with shock. The Shaoyan aristocratic family had stood tall in Yen City for nearly 100 years. Such an old and powerful family had actually been completely eradicated overnight. No one would be able to believe such a thing. Once this news was released, everyone's target was the mysterious young man, Zhuo Wen. Many of the practitioners in Yen City had clearly witnessed yesterday's great battle. Not only had the mysterious youth called Zhuo Wen single-handedly taken on many of the upper echelon practitioners of the Shaoyan aristocratic family, he had also killed them one by one. Even the family head, Shaoyan Zhua, had been killed. What was even more shocking was that this youth actually had a heavenly sovereign slave by his side. The Shaoyan aristocratic family's old ancestor, Shaoyan Ba, had originally hurriedly rushed over to denounce Zhuo Wen and even wanted to deal with him. However, he had been killed by Zhuo Wen's heavenly sovereign slave. In a short period of time, the core members of the Shaoyan aristocratic family had all been killed because of Zhuo Wen alone. The decline of the Shaoyan aristocratic family was only a matter of time. However, the speed at which the Shaoyan aristocratic family was annihilated had far exceeded everyone's expectations. In addition, the core members of the Shaoyan aristocratic family had all been killed because of Zhuo Wen. It was obvious that the faction behind Zhuo Wen was the one that had destroyed the Shaoyan aristocratic family. Therefore, as such rumors spread, the expressions of many of the practitioners in Yen City changed when they talked about Zhuo Wen. In particular, they all appeared very cautious when they mentioned Zhuo Wen's name. After walking out of the tavern, Zhuo Wen discovered that all the practitioners in every corner of Yen City were actually discussing him. Some of their guesses were even more outrageous. They actually described Zhuo Wen as an incomparably evil demon who had single-handedly annihilated the Shaoyan aristocratic family. With regards to these extremely unreliable guesses, Zhuo Wen could only shake his head and dismiss them with a smile. If these practitioners knew that the youth who had walked past them was the main character of their heated discussion, who knew what they would feel in their hearts? Kid. Someone seems to be following you. Xiao Xiao of a family's voice suddenly sounded in Zhuo Wen's mind. Zhuo Wen nodded. With his enormous perception, he had long since discovered that he was being followed. Moreover, there was more than one person following him. This was because he had discovered that there were faintly discernible gazes being cast at him from all directions. However, of family aristocratic family was of family of family family of family of family of family of family of family family of family aristocratic family family sect family of family of family of family of family sect family of family clan family clan of Lin family of family. Humph. Let's see what they can do to me after I reconstruct the physical bodies of the 5 great Tianzuans. After secretly saying this in his heart, Zhuo Wen arrived at the entrance of a remote alleyway. Soon after, he transformed into a shadow and disappeared from the alleyway. The several people who were originally watching Zhuo Wen walked out from different corners and also entered the alleyway. Soon after, these people once again appeared at the entrance of the alleyway. Their expressions were extremely ugly. This was because the moment Zhuo Wen entered the alleyway, it was as if he had evaporated from the face of the earth. On the bustling street, a sickly-looking youth with a sallow complexion strolled among the crowd. Although this person walked in an unconcerned manner, he would always stop for a while when he passed by some stalls. After haggling with the stall owner, he would buy a considerable amount of materials from the stall owner. Among these materials, there was no lack of precious and expensive materials. This person's actions attracted the attention of several practitioners, who whispered to each other as to why this person was buying so many materials. This waxen-faced youth was Zhuo Wen, who had changed his appearance. He knew that the Clear Void Valley had planted quite a few spies in Yen City. Therefore, after evading the pursuit of those people from before, Zhuo Wen had changed his appearance. Last night, Zhuo Wen had just taken a lot of spirit stones from the Shaoyan aristocratic family's warehouse. Therefore, he was extremely wealthy. Therefore, under Xiao Hei's guidance, he bought all of the materials needed to reconstruct the physical body. These materials cost Zhuowen more than 100,000 middle-tier spirit stones. However, compared to the millions of spirit stones he had, these spirit stones were merely a drop in the ocean. After collecting the materials, Zhuowen returned to the inn. After opening the door, Zhuowen let Xiao Hei out and said, "Xiao Hei, I'll have to trouble you this time." Xiao Hei nodded and said, "Take out the nascent souls of Ziyang Tianzuan and the other three, as well as all of the materials we bought today." Upon hearing this, Zhuowen flicked his finger and released Ziyang Tianzuan, Guanghan Heavenly Sovereign, Shiyu Heavenly Sovereign and Huang Jiao Heavenly Sovereign from his spirit ring. The materials he bought today were piled up in a corner of the room like a small mountain. "I'm afraid that it will take a month to reconstruct the physical bodies of these four. You and White Brow must remember to stand guard for me." Xiao Hei glanced at Zhuowen and White Brow, and her voice became extremely serious. Zhuowen and White Brow naturally did not dare to be negligent. Ziyang Tianzuan and the other three also knew that Xiao Hei was preparing to reconstruct their physical bodies. They were all overjoyed and excited. Being unable to do anything while in the nascent soul state was not a pleasant feeling. "Then let's begin." As she spoke, strands of dark energy surged out of Xiao Hei's body. The materials piled up in the corner of the room surged out one after another. Then, following the dark energy, they enveloped the nascent souls of Ziyang Tianzuan and the other three. Not long after, the nascent souls of Ziyang Tianzuan and the other three were already submerged by the dark energy and turned into four huge black eggs. This scene was almost exactly the same as when White Brow's body was reconstructed. Zhuowen and White Brow silently looked at the four huge eggs in the room. They did not disturb Xiao Hei. Time flew by, and a month passed very quickly. Finally, on this day, the four giant eggs in the room finally showed signs of movement. Crack! The first huge black egg cracked open, and a graceful body appeared before everyone's eyes. The first one to come out was Heavenly Venerable Shiyu. At this moment, Heavenly Venerable Shiyu's body was naked, and she seemed a little shy. She used the black eggshell to cover the important parts. Zhuowen flicked his finger and threw a palace uniform to Heavenly Venerable Shiyu. Then, he waved his right hand and covered the small space where Heavenly Venerable Shiyu was, making it easier for her to change. Not long after, Heavenly Venerable Shiyu walked out in her palace uniform. Although Heavenly Venerable Shiyu was not extremely beautiful, her somewhat round face was quite pleasing to the eye. In particular, the blush on her cheeks added a hint of charm to her temperament, which made Zhuowen and White Brow's eyes light up. "Shiyu greets Master." Heavenly Venerable Shiyu came in front of Zhuowen and bowed. There was a hint of ripples in her eyes. However, Zhuowen only nodded slightly and said, "Stand behind me first. The other three should be done soon." Heavenly Venerable Shiyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of resentment when she saw Zhuowen's attitude. She nodded and obediently stood behind Zhuowen. Her pair of clear eyes stared at the three huge eggs in the room. Crack! Crack! Another two eggshells cracked, and Heavenly Venerable Huang Jiao and Heavenly Venerable Guanghan walked out of the huge eggs at the same time. Both of them had a trace of confusion on their faces. After putting on their clothes, they stood respectfully beside Zhuowen, waiting for Ziyang Tianzuan to hatch. Ziyang Tianzuan was the strongest among the five of them. At the same time, he was also the most talented. If Ziyang Tianzuan hadn't been killed by Zhuowen, he might have successfully broken through to the Emperor realm in a few years. Zhuowen was also looking forward to the birth of Ziyang Tianzuan. After all, he was an expert at the peak of the Heavenly Venerable realm. If there were some opportunities, there was a high chance that he could break through to the Emperor realm. Zhuowen had to pay attention to him. Crack! Finally, the last huge black egg cracked, and a purple light surged out of it. Then, a young man with a Xiang tattoo on his back slowly walked out. After putting on the clothes that Zhuowen handed to him, Xiang Tianzuan bowed slightly to Zhuowen and Xiao He. His attitude was respectful and grateful. Good. Now that the 5 of you are here, it's time to meet Demon Dao and Qing Su. As he looked at the 5 great heavenly sovereigns behind him, Zhuowen's heart was filled with pride. With these 5 great heavenly sovereigns in addition to his own terrifying strength, there was no one in Yan City who could stop him other than the royal family's Yan Emperor. Boom! After saying that, Zhuowen stomped his foot and broke through the roof of the inn. He rose into the sky and looked down at the countless cultivators below. He shouted, "Qing Su, Demon Dao. Zhuowen is here. Get out here." The thunderous voice exploded in the sky above Yan City, spreading throughout the entire Yan City. What's going on? Someone actually asked Qing Su and Demon Dao to get out here. Did I hear wrongly? It's Zhuowen, the mysterious young man who destroyed the Shaoyan family a month ago. He's so arrogant. He actually dared to openly provoke Qing Su and Demon Dao. Is he courting death? An uproar spread in every corner of Yan City. Soon after, all the cultivators' gazes gathered on Zhuowen's body in the sky. Their gazes were filled with a strange look. What kind of figures were Qing Su and Demon Dao? To think that this brat dared to provoke them in such a manner. Did water enter his brain? Although Zhuowen had destroyed the upper echelons of the Shaoyan family, which was enough to shake Yan City and let many people know that this brat was not simple, Qing Su and Demon Dao were not people that Shaoyan Ba could compare to. They were the true giants of Yan City and had been famous heavenly venerables for a long time. Zhuowen dared to make such a big fuss. If he was not courting death, then what was? In a pavilion in the middle of a lake in Yan City, 2 figures were slowly playing chess. Of the 2, one had an immortal-like demonic aura, while the other had a surging demonic aura. They looked so out of place. What a great move. Besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. Looks like Brother Demon Dao's chess skills are not much weaker than his cultivation. The immortal-like elder laughed. Qing Su. Don't keep me in suspense. It's already been a month. Could it be that your Qing Su Valley still hasn't found Zhuowen? Demon Dao coldly snorted and said in an indifferent voice. Qing Su's gaze hardened. He shook his head and said, Zhuowen is not simple. I'm afraid that he has a powerful concealment technique. It will be very difficult to find him. I'm afraid that Brat has already escaped from Yan City. Demon Dao said without any trace of politeness. Qing Su, Demon Dao. Zhuowen is here. Get out here. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.